The redhead had appeared near Swan City for one simple reason: to wait for a ship. After hearing Claude's explanation, Herag finally relaxed. The redhead's teacher was either already dead or didn't have much time left, so the chances of anyone coming after him for revenge were slim. I'll let you know as soon as there's news about the ship. Until then, focus on learning, Claude said. I don't know much about wizards, but everyone I've met was extremely knowledgeable. In the end, knowledge is always the sharpest weapon. His eyes grew distant, as if he were remembering something from long ago. Then he smiled wryly and added, "To be honest, although I'm your teacher, I've taken advantage of you. I do have a selfish wish. I hope that, in the future, you'll look after my descendants." Herag smiled. "Teacher, you don't need to explain. You helped me first. Of course I'll take care of your descendants as much as I can. You have to give something to gain something. I understand that price." Claude burst out laughing. "Ha ha! You really are suited to walk the path of a wizard." Time passed quickly. 3 months slipped by. During this time, Herag practically lived in the Nocentan Academy library. Every single book that entered his hands was scanned into Shenlan. He had Shenlan record everything first, then picked out the volumes that truly interested him to read carefully. As for the starry sky meditation technique, he had already completed meditation on the second star and was now working on the third. Herag Merlin, Power 2.1, Agility 1.7, Constitution 2.9, Spirit 4.6, Magic Power 100%. After successfully meditating on the second star, his physical attributes, like power, had also increased slightly. Herag realized that the starry sky meditation technique did far more than simply raise spiritual power by a fixed amount each time. The second star alone had added 1.1 points of spirit, and future stars would likely give even more. But the stronger the gain, the longer the time required, and the harder the meditation became. That single stalk of meteor grass he'd started with was long gone. Later, Claude managed to acquire 2 more through his connections. But after that, meteor grass completely disappeared from their reach. There was nothing Herag could do. Some things simply couldn't be forced. Resources on the Cultivation continent really were far too scarce. Emil, together with Jimmy and the others who had originally followed him, had formed a mercenary group. After several successful missions, they started to build a reputation, and their numbers grew. The group now had more than 60 members. Melissa said that once they had the chance to organize a caravan of their own, Emil's group, with their combat strength, will be able to run trade routes, escort goods, and earn quite a lot. Everyone had become busy with their own paths, and Herag saw less and less of them. For some reason, ever since he had casually demonstrated a fireball technique, Jimmy, Melissa, and the others all seemed to hold a subtle awe toward him, or perhaps it was fear. On the surface, they still acted the same around him, but Herag could feel that faint layer of distance in their hearts. Only Emil remained unchanged. He was still the same honest, straightforward man who treated Herag as before. But recently, more tired lines had appeared on his face, the marks of a rough life. His strength, however, had grown significantly. Herag estimated that Emil might soon have a real chance to break through and become a great knight. There had been a time when Herag believed that the realm of great knight was the peak of martial strength in this world. That was before he learned the truth about Baron Buck and Emil. Baron Buck hid the fact that Emil was his son. Not even Emil knew. He clearly had some plan, Herag sighed. But whatever he wanted is gone with him now. All of these thoughts were pushed aside when his quiet days came to an end at the Star of Spring. On that day, Claude sent word. The ship would arrive at Swan City's port within 5 days. The port of Swan City was enormous. Thanks to its location, it had grown into the largest harbor on the Cultivation continent. Countless ships came and went, and despite his age, Claude insisted on coming in person to see Herag off. Melissa and Emil supported him on either side. "Teacher, you really didn't have to come all this way," Herag said with a helpless smile. Claude chuckled kindly. "You're still young, so you don't understand. Once you leave, we'll most likely never see each other again in this lifetime. Walking a little more is nothing." "Herag, Just come back to visit often. Teacher is very healthy, Melissa chimed in. She had grown into a graceful young woman, completely different from the girl she once was. Just a month ago, she had confirmed that she was pregnant, though it still didn't show. They'd held a simple wedding, just a group of people sharing a meal. Fallen nobles didn't have the means to arrange anything grand. You don't understand, Claude went on. The world of wizards is different from ours. The time they spend on a single experiment might equal an ordinary person's entire life. And a voyage across the sea is extremely difficult. Coming back isn't as easy as you think. Emil clapped Herag on the shoulder. You brat, don't you dare forget us. I don't care if you become some great wizard or not. In my eyes, you'll always be that kid who trained with the sword every day. Yeah, I know, Herag replied. Memories of learning swordsmanship and breathing techniques with Emil surfaced in his mind, leaving him feeling bittersweet. You're going to be our child's godfather, Melissa said, gently touching her belly. Once you become a lofty wizard, don't forget to look after him. Herag nodded. It's just a shame I won't be here to see him born. Once I settle down over there, I'll write to you. We'll stay in touch. The ship is here, Claude suddenly said, looking toward the horizon. Everyone turned to look. At the line where sea and sky met, a ship was moving toward them at impressive speed. At first it didn't look particularly special, but as it drew nearer, Herag and the others realized this vessel was much larger than a normal ship. It had 5 decks, and its exterior hull was plated with some strange metal that gave off a deep, dark sheen. On the deck, more than a dozen sailors were hauling on the ropes and adjusting the sails. Herag noticed that among these sailors, at least 5 were at night level or above. The ship glided into the harbor and docked smoothly. The sailors immediately began unloading goods, looking no different from any ordinary merchant crew. Claude explained, this ship belongs to a wizard organization from the Kala continent. Its main job is trade. Their ships are sturdy enough to cross dangerous waters, their sailors are strong, and there's an official wizard on board who can handle all kinds of accidents. That's how they can travel so far, buying and selling goods to earn money. The expenses of a wizard organization are enormous, after all. Transporting wizard apprentices like you is just an extra. If there are apprentices, they take them. If there aren't, it doesn't matter. Herag's gaze was drawn to a figure standing at the bow. The person wore a black hooded cloak and radiated a strong magical presence. At the same time, Shenlan's warning sounded in his mind. High-energy magical source detected. That must be the official wizard on this ship, Herag murmured. As if hearing him, the hooded figure turned and glanced in his direction, then walked down the gangplank straight toward him. Are you the wizard apprentice who's boarding? The man in the black had asked. Yes, sir, Emil replied. Even though the man was clearly suppressing it, Emil could still feel the heavy pressure of his magic. Do you have your token? The hooded man continued. Yes. Emil took out the ring. The man accepted it, turning it in his hand. A token from Moonlight Forest. This is only the second time I've seen this ring. Follow me. Because of earlier delays, we'll only be staying here for 1 day. Second time. Emil immediately thought of the red-haired mentor who'd come before him. So this man had likely been serving on this ship for many years. I'm going. Emil turned back to say goodbye to the 3 of them. Take care. Herag stepped up and pulled him into a firm hug, and Melissa followed, hugging him as well. Let's move. The hooded man urged impatiently, turning to leave first. Emil slung his pack over his shoulder, took the bundle Herag had prepared for him, and quickly followed. I'm Dino, a level 1 wizard from Dream Island, the man said as he walked. The ship has 5 decks. Apprentices stay on the 3rd and 4th decks. Conditions down there are rougher, but it's safer than the upper levels. The sea is dangerous, so don't go wandering topside unless you have a reason. As he led the way, Dino casually laid out some of the ship's rules. Mr. Dino, how many wizard apprentices are on board? Emil asked. Including you, there are 11. 2 are from the Colson continent, you being one of them. We'll remain here for a day in case anyone else arrives. They stepped onto the main deck. Only then did Emil realize just how big it really was, almost as large as a town square. Most of the people on deck were sailors working the ropes and rigging. Scattered along the rails were 5 or 6 young men and women about his age, enjoying the sea breeze. When Emil came aboard, they glanced over briefly, then lost interest. It was clear they were used to new apprentices joining at every port. "Try not to start any conflicts on this ship," Dino said, turning his head slightly. "Don't interfere with the voyage, and do not damage the ship. If you do, I'll feed you to the fish." "Understood," Emil replied with a nod. "Follow me." Dino headed for the stairs leading below. Emil went after him, the old wooden steps creaking underfoot. The interior of the ship was dim. Lamps hung along the passage walls, casting soft white light from chunks of pale stone. The corridor was narrow, and Emil noticed that the walls were made of a special kind of wood with a faint metallic sheen. He rested his palm against it and found it unbelievably hard. Without looking back, Dino said, "That's what from the forbidden magic forest. Hardest timber known, and highly resistant to magic." Forbidden magic forest. Emil tried feeding a bit of magic into the wall and felt a clear resistance. They passed the first deck and continued down to the third. "The cabins on the third deck are full. You'll be on the fourth." Emil glanced down the third deck hallway. Lights spilled from several doors, while others stayed dark. Their occupants were either sleeping or up above on the deck. The fourth deck was narrower, with fewer cabins. Emil counted only 5 rooms in use. Dino stopped at one of the doors, pulled out a key, and opened it. "You'll stay here. The fourth deck is more cramped, but fewer people means fewer problems. You're a first-class apprentice, correct?" "Yes," Emil answered. According to the Starry Sky meditation technique, he needed to meditate on 6 stars to reach the mental power required for second-class apprentice. Most people started with 1 or 2 points of spirit, so Emil estimated that the second-class standard was somewhere around 7 or 8. Once Dino got his confirmation, he nodded. "Then this is suitable for you. There are several second-class apprentices on the third deck. More talent, more trouble, so watch yourself." Just then, the room opposite Emil's door lit up. "The one across from you is also from the Colson continent," Dino added. "Boarded at the last port. That's about all you need to know. Don't cause trouble and wait quietly until we reach land. You'll take your meals on the second deck. Go there if you're hungry, and try not to loiter on the main deck. I don't have the time or patience to babysit you." "Yes, I understand, Mr. Dino," Emil said respectfully. With that, Dino left, clearly in a hurry. Emil turned back to his room. It was quite dark, and he had to fumble for a lamp on the wall. The lamp was similar to those in the corridor, a white stone inside a glass cover. Beneath it was a small switch. When Emil pushed it up, the stone lit up with a soft white glow. Pushing the switch down turned it off. "What kind of stone is this?" he muttered, examining the lamp's simple structure. It was basically a base, a switch, and the white stone sealed under glass. The secret must be in the base. He could sense a faint flow of magic inside, but he didn't dare take it apart. The last thing he wanted was to be thrown overboard. With the lamp on, the cramped room felt much more welcoming. There was a single bed, with just enough space between it and the wall for Emil to stand sideways. Opposite the bed, a wooden board was fixed to the wall with ropes. Pulled down, it became a small table. The ceiling held 2 small cabinets where he could store his belongings. Emil stowed away his bundle. Inside were dried meat, hardtack, and other long-lasting supplies that Herag and the others had prepared for him. Once everything was put away, he lay down on the bed. The planks beneath the mattress were hard, but still acceptable. A thick quilt covered the bed. When he ran his hand over it, he felt a bit of dampness from the sea air. "Knock, knock." Someone tapped lightly on the door. Emil glanced at the little map Shenlan projected in his mind. A figure stood outside. From the outline, it looked like a girl. He opened the door. A girl of 16 or 17 stood there, long golden hair cascading down her back, fine features softened by a gentle smile. Noble, Emil thought at once. She wore a pale gold dress with a silver-gray coat trimmed in gold tassels. Standard noble attire, and not from a minor house either.
Hey everyone, Firescale Audiobooks here. If there's a novel you'd love to hear more of, you can support us on Patreon or Ko-fi. Depending on your tier, I'll make extra parts just for the stories you're most excited about. Usually, I can only upload 4 to 5 parts of each novel, but with your support, we can go beyond that. And of course, don't forget to hit subscribe. It helps more than you know.
Hello, I am Lillian Stewart. Lillian smiled, slightly lifted the sides of her skirt with both hands, and gave a slight curtsy, a standard noble gesture. Herag also slightly bowed in return and said, "Hello, Miss Lillian, I am Herag Merlin. If I'm not mistaken, you should be from the Seville Empire in the east of the Colson continent." "That's correct. It seems Mr. Herag knows the history of our Stewart family." Lillian looked at Herag with a hint of admiration. "Yes, I've read some related books. The Stewarts are a great family. Without you, there wouldn't be the powerful Seville Empire today." Herag spoke without a trace of flattery. The Seville Empire is very far from the Norton Kingdom. So far that ordinary people in the Norton Kingdom may never hear of this country in their lifetime. During his days in the library, Herag learned that the Seville Empire is a country highly developed in military, politics, and economy, and several generations of kings from the Stewart family have governed the country well. The name Stewart following Lillian signifies her high status. Lillian seemed to understand what Herag was thinking and sweetly smiled, saying, "My father is the current King Louis. So, it's Princess Lillian, Your Highness." Herag smiled. Lillian quickly said, "There are no princesses in the wizard world. I've come to see you to discuss whether we can form an alliance since we're all from the Colson continent. Those people upstairs look down on us, considering people from the Colson continent to be savages from the wild. By forming an alliance, we can look after each other. What do you think?" Lillian's big eyes were full of hopeful anticipation. "We can exchange information, but there's no need for an alliance." Herag, unsure of her intentions, directly refused. "Okay, let's just exchange some information then," Lillian said, not surprised by Herag's refusal. "Shenlan, activate the magic power monitoring. Notify me immediately if Lillian shows any anomaly." Magic power monitoring activated. After Herag issued the command, he went inside, sat down by the bed. Lillian gave a slight smile, adjusted her skirt, and sat down beside him. A gentle fragrance wafted over, pleasant and not overpowering. The room was small, and the fragrance soon filled the entire space. Lillian asked, "Which wizard organization are you planning to join?" "Moonlight Forest," Herag replied. "I know Moonlight Forest. It's a powerful wizard organization. I plan to join Augustus Academy. This is my token," Lillian said, pressing a finger against her chest where a brooch was pinned to her clothing. Lillian appeared to be only 16 or 17 years old, yet she already possessed the charm of a mature woman. Herag's gaze was first attracted to the fair skin, then quickly shifted to the brooch. There was a flow of magic power in the brooch, evidently a demonized item, likely a token of Augustus Academy. Herag sensed that Lillian might be testing him, but he had no interest in the brooch. "Do you casually pin your token on your chest like that?" Herag asked. Lillian smiled. "Please forgive my probing. You indeed showed no greed." "No greed? Is she reading expressions or using a special magic?" Herag waved his hand. "That's not important. Let's focus on exchanging information. I need to know news related to the wizard organizations." "Give me a moment," Lillian said, getting up to run into her room, with little steps that had none of a noble lady's demeanor. Before long, Lillian returned with a map in her hands. Lillian unceremoniously lowered the wooden board on the opposite wall and laid out the map. "Look, these are roughly the locations of several wizard organizations." Herag took a look and recognized it as a map of the Kala continent, more detailed than what he had seen before. However, the map was still incomplete, primarily marking the locations of the wizard organizations. The first thing he noticed was Moonlight Forest, located inland, some distance from the coast, but it was difficult to estimate the distance as the map lacked a scale. Above Moonlight Forest was Green Cottage, and to the right of Green Cottage was Augustus Academy. There were other wizard organizations. After Lillian left, Herag began to organize the information he had gotten from her. Augustus Academy was similar to ordinary schools, except it had an 8-year program, where wizard apprentices studied according to the curriculum arranged by the academy. If someone was particularly outstanding, they might be chosen by an official wizard to become their student. Augustus Academy was relatively peaceful among these wizard organizations, with relatively less conflict among the wizard apprentices. The Moonlight Forest where Herag was located was completely different, wherein all knowledge and resources needed to be paid for. Wizard apprentices had to complete various tasks to earn points or magic stones to exchange for the corresponding resources. Knowledge and guidance from official wizards were also resources, which wizard apprentices had to strive to earn. Knock, knock. Lillian came to knock on the door again, and when Herag opened it, he saw a bed quilt. "This is an extra velvet quilt I have. Don't use the one from the boat. It's damp, smelly, and moldy," Lillian said, hugging a heavy quilt that almost obscured her entirely. Herag took it. "Thank you." The outside of the velvet quilt was actually silk with gold trim, and it felt very smooth. He grew even more puzzled. Lillian should be stronger than himself. Why would she show goodwill towards him? There were never any free lunches. To receive something, one must pay a corresponding price. Herag understood this principle very well. "Oh, right, if you're preparing to go up and eat, call me, we'll go together. Otherwise, those people might cause you trouble seeing you're alone. The ship is particularly boring. Some people find joy in bullying newcomers. I heard someone once hung up a newcomer at the bout of fish, and if Dino hadn't found out in time, the newcomer's head would have been eaten by fish," Lillian reminded. Lillian boarded the ship a few days earlier than Herag and saw more, knowing those people better. Herag remembered the situation he saw on the deck and the third floor earlier. Those people didn't know each other, maintaining their distances. He couldn't completely trust Lillian, and likewise, Lillian would also hold something back. If they were like this, the people upstairs would certainly be no different. Herag returned to the room, used the original quilt as a mat, and laid Lillian's velvet quilt on top. "Let's go. Time to eat. I'll show you around," Lillian said, standing outside the door. "Okay." After locking the door, the two of them headed to the second floor. On the staircase, Herag glanced downward. The fifth floor was very dark. From this angle, he couldn't see any light, but could smell something foul and fishy from below. Lillian held her nose disdainfully. "The sailors live on the fifth floor. They aren't very clean. There are another 2 floors below, set to store some cargo and ballast items." As Herag and Lillian climbed past the 3rd floor, they saw a thin-faced man squatting alone at the stairwell, his eyes wide open, staring at them constantly. "Don't look at him," Lillian whispered, picking up the pace. Herag averted his gaze from the man, quickening his steps to the 2nd floor. He could feel the man's gaze following him until they reached the 2nd floor, where it finally vanished. "That guy is Fegar Mullen, one of the 2 second-class apprentices among us. The one who hung someone at the bow fishing was him. That guy has some mental issues, seems mentally unstable. Don't provoke him," Lillian said, fearfully mentioning Fegar. Herag nodded. Fegar's gaze indeed made him uncomfortable, like a predator searching for prey, filled only with indifference and cruelty. He felt fortunate to be living on the 4th floor. Otherwise, seeing such a guy squatting in the corridor would be chilling. The dining area on the 2nd floor was fairly spacious, with white bread, pickled meat, and smoked meat placed in baskets, free to take as needed. Herag also saw 2 large baskets of green tangerines, the aroma noticeable from afar, their skin especially green. Just the sight made one's mouth water. Besides them, there were also 3 wizard apprentices scattered around eating in the dining area. Herag and Lillian's jovial behavior did not go unnoticed by the others, who noted it silently. Why are they so cold to each other? With official wizards on board, there should be a degree of safety, right? Herag asked. Lillian, adopting a mocking look, smiled. "Dino doesn't concern himself with such matters. There's no prohibition on killing here. As long as it doesn't impede the voyage, Dino won't care if he doesn't see it. Tokens aren't registered to real names, and the wizard organization doesn't care how you get them. Some people lack tokens." "I see." Herag had thought that the presence of official wizards would ensure some peace on the ship. He himself had 2 demonized items. Others probably had some as well. Without tokens, people must pass tests to have a chance of joining a wizard organization. Having a token provides direct entry, creating temptation for some to risk everything for murder and treasure. These wizard apprentices boarded the ship knowing nobody, wary of others' intentions, leading to the current situation. Herag and Lillian each took some food and chatted while eating, while the other three noticeably hastened their meal and quickly departed upon their arrival. This dining area was exclusively for wizard apprentices. Sailors couldn't dine here. I have a token for Augustus Academy. Many people want it. I have no choice but to form an alliance with you, Lillian said, looking stressed. Herag understood. Those without tokens mostly targeted those with, and Lillian's Augustus Academy token certainly attracted much coveting. I seem to have gotten the short end, just by walking with you. They now assume we're together, meaning you've dragged me into this. Herag finally realized the catch. A simple meal turned into a trap. Lillian straightened her ample chest. I'm stronger than you. I can protect you. Besides, forming an alliance with a noble princess. Herag cut her off, rubbing his finger. Cut the nonsense, I want something tangible. Lillian, seeing he wasn't convinced, rolled her eyes and pulled out a ring. Here, it's a space ring. You probably don't have a demonized item like this, right? This is nice. Herag grabbed it quickly. Lillian said seriously, You think keeping your distance from me ensures your safety? Quite the opposite. You'll be even more endangered. There's a total of 2 second-class apprentices on board. If we team up, even second-class apprentices can ensure they can kill us both and escape unharmed. Know that if a second-class apprentice gets hurt, would the other spare them? So, we should temporarily join forces to guarantee a measure of safety. After thinking for a moment, Herag said, All right, we can cooperate since in others' eyes, we're already together. Herag finished speaking and picked up the space ring, observing it for a while. Space rings are special demonized items. The internal space varies in size. The one Herag held is as big as a 10-square-meter room. Shenlan, check for any anomalies. Herag, to be safe, asked Shenlan to scan it first. No anomalies detected. Only after Shenlan gave the results did Herag confidently put on the space ring. No wonder she's a princess of Seville. She's really rich. Only 2 in total. Lillian rolled her eyes at him. Shenlan, check Lillian's body data and cancel the scan immediately if there is any resistance. Herag issued an instruction. He has always been cautious and didn't dare to use Shenlan's detection on wizards like Dino. Lillian is just a first-class apprentice. He thought he could give it a try. The previous redhead didn't notice Shenlan's detection either. Lillian Stewart, Power 3.1, Agility 3.2, Constitution 3.7, Spirit 7.6. Herag's eyes widened when he saw the data. All aspects far exceeded his own. He couldn't beat Lillian in a physical fight. 7.6 spiritual power is terrifying. Generally, a second-class apprentice would only have that level of spiritual power. Shenlan, check my data. Herag Merlin, Power 2.1, Agility 1.7, Constitution 2.9, Spirit 4.6, Magic Power 100%. Herag felt that his path was long, and he still needed to work hard when he saw it. What's wrong with you? Lillian saw Herag a bit dazed and asked. Nothing, just spaced out a bit. Judging by her demeanor, Herag thought she completely didn't detect Shenlan's scanning behavior. Won't you try Dino someday? Herag weighed it over and decided to abandon the idea. He had a gut feeling that even if Dino couldn't detect Shenlan's presence, he could sense himself watching him. Late at night, Herag lay in bed, covered with a comfortable velvet quilt, 2.5 stars twinkling in his mind, the 3rd star almost fully formed. Since learning the meditation method, he hadn't slept. Even lying in bed covered with a quilt, he remained in meditation. After seeing Lillian's spiritual power today, Herag felt an even stronger sense of urgency. Herag stayed in meditation throughout the night, realizing it was the next day only when the ship began moving. The ship sailed out of the port, getting farther from Swan City. As Lillian mentioned, if the voyage proceeds smoothly, it would take 3 months to reach Car Continent, But unexpected events could push it a half a year or even a year. They have to stay on the ship during this time, only having the chance to walk on land occasionally when docking for supplies. For half a month straight, the ship sailed across the vast sea. Herag maintained a routine of eating, sleeping, and meditation. This period of focused meditation brought his third star close to fully forming. The 11 wizard apprentices continued to maintain a delicate peace. No one started trouble. Feger seemed warned by Dino, behaving well all along. Having secluded in meditation for half a month without seeing the sun, Herag felt a bit suffocated staying inside the cabin. With the recent calm seas, he decided to go to the deck for some fresh air. Upon opening his cabin door, Lillian also opened hers, wearing a corset dress. "I'm going to the deck for a breeze. It's been stifling for too long," Herag said. Lillian thought for a moment, then said, "I'll go too." On the deck, there were sailors fishing at the ship's side, while others sprawled out sleeping, snoring loudly. Dino stood at the bow holding a telescope, glanced back at Herag and Lillian, but didn't speak, continuing to observe ahead. He advised these wizard apprentices to avoid coming to the deck to prevent any accidents from happening to them. One of Dino's tasks was bringing fresh blood to the wizard organization. The number doesn't matter, but the more the better. Thus, it was preferable for him that as few as possible died among these wizard apprentices. However, for someone like Herag who stayed in the cabin for long periods, occasionally coming up for air, he wouldn't say anything. Herag leaned against the deserted railing, feeling comfortable in the sea breeze. The ocean was vast, with no land in sight. Looking down, the light blue seawater appeared particularly beautiful, the ship's forward motion creating tall waves. Lillian beside him was also facing the sea. The sea breeze blew her golden long hair upward, giving Herag the illusion of taking a girlfriend on a sea vacation. "You too. Get back to the cabin quickly. Something's coming." Dino suddenly turned around, shouting from the bow. Herag said nothing, decisively pulling Lillian's hand as they rushed back to the cabin. He trusted Dino's judgment. If something could make an official wizard so agitated, it was surely extraordinary. Lillian reacted a bit slowly, but quickly came to as Herag pulled her, accelerating towards the cabin. Roar! A sky-covering shadow loomed over the sea where the ship was located. The powerful pressure forced everyone on the deck to the ground. Herag and Lillian were also pressed on the deck by this imposing aura. He tried to get up several times, but failed. Their hands clutched tightly, giving each other a slight sense of safety. Herag struggled to turn his head, finally seeing what it was. Dragon. A gigantic black dragon soaring in the sky. The dragon was so large that Herag couldn't see its entirety. And percent, the black dragon opened its mouth, speaking words of unclear meaning. Lillian listened carefully, then said, "Dragonic language. It's Dragonic language. Can you understand it?" Herag asked. "I can't. Only able to pick out a few syllables." Lillian replied. The ever-standing Dino at the bow looked at the black dragon in the sky, opened his mouth, and said, "You and hashtag a percent at a hashtag." The giant dragon responded, yet it was still incomprehensible. Dino's right hand waved. A large pile of gold, pearls, gems appeared at the bow, enough treasure to drive ordinary people crazy. The black dragon lowered, instantly whipping up a storm in the sea, tons of seawater thrown up, splashing onto the deck. Herag and Lillian got drenched. Lillian happened to wear a corset dress again, thin enough. Once soaked, her entire dress almost turned transparent. Her graceful body directly shone in front of Herag. The intimidating aura persisted, forcing Herag and Lillian to lie face to face. Lillian looked down once, blushing instantly. "Close your eyes." Herag immediately closed his eyes, yet couldn't suppress the smile on his lips, which infuriated Lillian. Big, big, big was the only word in Herag's mind now. The black dragon opened its dragon mouth, inhaling to swallow all the treasures in one go. You and percent, the black dragon spoke again, appearing somewhat dissatisfied. Dino's hand flashed. A magic staff over a meter long appeared, then looking up at the black dragon without a word. The black dragon, somewhat wary, flew higher, circling above for a while before finally departing. Greedy giant dragon, Dino muttered under his breath as he watched the black dragon fly away. Most of the sailors on the deck were unconscious, foaming at the mouth, except for the night-level sailors who were still awake. As soon as the pressure disappeared, Herag quickly stood up and took off his robe, draping it over Lillian. His robe was made of black fabric, which wouldn't become see-through when wet. Lillian clumsily wrapped herself tightly in the robe and hurried back to the cabin, looking quite disheveled. Herag didn't rush back, but instead approached Dino and asked, "Mr. Dino, what was up with that dragon just now?" "Those damn bugs. These greedy dragon race members like robbing passing ships at sea. If it weren't for worrying about the ship's safety, I'd have rendered its dragon oil to light a lamp," Dino said angrily. The treasure he lost caused him significant heartache. To him, it wasn't a small amount. Seeing Dino in a bad mood, Herag remained silent, contemplating something while gazing at the direction the black dragon flew away. A night-level sailor nearby walked to the edge of the ship, holding a bucket with a thick rope tied to it. He threw the bucket into the sea to fill it with water, pulled it up, and then splashed it on the unconscious sailors, who woke up groggily. Feeling uncomfortable in his wet clothes, Herag returned to the cabin to change. As soon as he changed, Lillian came knocking on the door. Lillian wore pajamas, her hair still draped and damp. She held a massive book with a red cover, the title written in Sivir language, Basic Introduction to Dragonic Language. I need to check what their Dragonic language was just now. Dragonic language is so hard to learn. I can't remember all the basic syllables, Lillian said as she walked in and climbed onto the bed, sitting with her legs up, revealing small white legs and delicate feet. She opened the heavy book on Dragonic language, and with her finger, she scanned the contents from top to bottom, repeatedly turning to the designated pages until she finally translated Dino and the Black Dragon's conversation. Lillian looked up and smiled. "I figured it out. Just now, the Black Dragon said to hand over your treasures, or I'll tip over your ship." Then Dino replied, "Are you courting death?" The Black Dragon said, "You might be strong, but you can't keep me here." Finally, the Black Dragon said the offerings were too few, not enough. Herag pondered, "So Dino is that strong? Even such a large black dragon fears him." "That's quite normal. Dino is an experienced level 1 wizard. If we were on land, that black dragon wouldn't dare even glance over." Lillian pulled her legs back, pressing them together. "Can I borrow this book to have a look?" Herag asked. "Of course. Are you interested in Dragonic language?" Lillian inquired. Herag nodded. "I plan to study it just in case I need it in the future. Dragonic language is hard to learn. You'll know when you try. I can teach you, otherwise you won't know how to pronounce these syllables." It's said that mastering Dragonic language can allow you to use Dragonic language magic, but the spell models are so complex that even official wizards find them difficult, Lillian said as she scooted further onto the bed, patting the adjacent spot. "Sit here. Listen closely to the lesson." Herag laughed helplessly. She genuinely treated the space as her own. Dragonic language has as many as 900 basic syllables, and this is merely the foundation, not the complete version. The 900 syllables combine in various ways, some words requiring hundreds of syllables to combine, with each word taking up 2 pages. The complexity of Dragonic language arises because the dragon's pronunciation structure differs from humans. It's not inherently designed for human use. With a basic understanding, Herag comprehended why Lillian found Dragonic language challenging. "Fortunately, I'm diligent and have an excellent mind," Herag mused, undaunted by difficulty. "Shenlan, begin recording Dragonic language. Assist me in learning it." Task archived. With Shenlan assisting, Herag's study became considerably easier. Lillian taught the 900 syllables once, and he memorized them all. Lillian looked at Herag like he was a monster. "Did you memorize it all? Are you messing with me? You must have studied before." "No, it's only 900. Isn't it normal to memorize after seeing once?" Herag replied innocently, as though it was perfectly reasonable. Lillian had doubts about herself, wondering if she was actually just too dull. After mastering basic grammar, Herag could form some simple sentences in Dragonic language. Hashtag at percent. Herag suddenly spoke a sentence in Dragonic language. Lillian looked blank. What? Nothing. Let's see what's next, Herag said with a bit of humor. Lillian sensed he wasn't saying anything nice. No way. Let me check. She turned to the index, trying to recall what Herag just said, then slowly matched and searched. I'm a bit hungry. I'll go eat first. Sensing trouble, Herag quickly fled. As soon as he exited the room, Lillian's angry shout followed. You dared to call me dumb. Lillian, clad in pajamas, couldn't chase after him, forced to curse Herag through gritted teeth. Dragonic language really is complex. Herag took 5 days to completely master the contents of Basic Introduction to Dragonic Language. To avoid upsetting Lillian too much, he pretended it took him half a month to fully master it, with Lillian continuing to teach for an additional half month. Yet the results still disheartened her. Lillian perpetually failed to comprehend why others took years to learn Dragonic language, while Herag mastered it in less than a month, pondering the vast differences between people. Deep in the night, Herag meditated in his room, successfully condensing the 3rd star completely. Herag Merlin, Power 2.1, Agility 1.7, Constitution 2.9, Spirit 5.8, Magic Power 100%. His spiritual power increased by 1.2 this time, making Herag feel clear-headed and comfortable. Upon completing his meditation, he didn't rest. He opened the door, intending to search the deck for the 4th star to meditate upon. Occasionally, he'd go to the deck to relax during this period, encountering no odd occurrences. The ship had sailed smoothly for half a month, the journey progressing smoothly. Arriving on deck, an expanse of stars greeted him, along with the giant moon hanging over the horizon at sea. Dino still stood at the prow. Whenever Herag visited the deck, Dino was there. Herag refrained from disturbing him, seeing Dino with eyes closed, seemingly asleep. Could it be his meditation method? Herag speculated internally. His meditation method required stargazing. Perhaps Dino's required observing the sea, which wasn't impossible. Finding a spot, he sat cross-legged, beginning to search for a star within the night sky for meditation. The current 3 stars lie in varied directions across the sky, with considerable distance among them. For this 4th star, Herag chose yet another direction differing from the prior 3. On the vast deck, there were only Herag and Dino. The sound of the waves hitting the ship was rhythmic, and it was particularly sleep-inducing. Herag sat cross-legged, focused on his meditation, not knowing how long had passed, when suddenly Shenlan alerted him that someone was approaching. He opened his eyes and found Dino standing in front of him, looking at him. Dino spoke. Your spiritual power is very stable, and the quality of your magic power is good, which means you have been practicing the meditation method seriously. Thank you for the compliment, Mr. Dino. Herag stood up and said. Dino seemed to be quite interested today, and turned to lean on the ship's railing, saying, Your steadfast, step-by-step practice is the best approach. Don't rush for quick results. Look at Feger. Although his spiritual power is high, it's extremely unstable, and the power gained through extreme means will one day backfire. Thank you for your guidance, Mr. Dino. Herag said humbly, Is your meditation method related to the stars? Dino pointed to the sky. Yes. Dino nodded. I can tell this kind of meditation method is usually not simple. Keep it up, young man. In the following days, Herag went to the deck to meditate, often asking Dino questions, all of which Dino answered generously. It was only after getting acquainted with Dino that Herag learned that Dino had been on the sea for over 80 years. The ship beneath his feet was already the 6th one. The previous 5 had all been destroyed due to various accidents. Every time he went to the Kala continent, he brought some wizard apprentices. Over the years, accidents frequently occurred, and several times the wizard apprentices on board were all wiped out. As the sea is full of unknowns, and no one knows when accidents will happen. Half a month later, they were only a month's journey from the Kala continent. Herag sat at the bow of the ship, feeling especially comfortable in the sea breeze. "There's a problem." Dino sniffed the sea breeze, frowning. "What's wrong?" Herag, seeing Dino's serious expression, had a bad premonition in his heart. The night sky, originally filled with stars, suddenly became shrouded in thick clouds, and not only that, but the ship was enveloped in a gray fog with extremely low visibility. "Stop the ship," Dino ordered, and the ship slowly came to a halt. By memory, Herag groped his way to the bow, seeing Dino standing at the bow, holding a compass-like device in his hand. "Mr. Dino, what's going on?" Dino sighed. "We've run into the lost sea fog and don't know when it will clear." "Lost sea fog," Dino explained. "Lost sea fog is a rare phenomenon at sea. Once a ship is shrouded by it, it loses direction. The space within the lost sea fog is chaotic, and if a ship sails recklessly, it could end up in unknown places, which can be extremely severe." "What can be done?" Herag asked. "Wait," Dino said helplessly. "The lost sea fog will disperse automatically, but no one knows the time frame. Some lost sea fogs last for a few days, others can persist for decades." Decades? Herag understood the current predicament. No ship can carry enough freshwater and food to sustain decades. After the ship stopped, others in the cabin also noticed the anomaly. Many of them rushed to the deck. Dino briefly explained the current situation, making several wizard apprentices uneasy. On the contrary, the sailors seemed indifferent. In their eyes, Dino was like a god. Nothing could defeat him. 3 days passed, and the gray fog still hadn't dissipated. Dino didn't act rashly and remained in an observational state. 5 days later, the gray fog still enveloped the sea. The mood on the ship started to change. Many people became restless. In these 2 days, there had been more than one fight among the wizard apprentices, including one who was seriously injured by Feger. If Dino hadn't intervened to suppress the crowd, the fight might have escalated further. For safety reasons these days, Herag and Lillian stayed together to avoid being alone and encountering danger. The gray fog not only blocked vision, but also dulled people's senses. Even the operation of magic power became more obscure. Herag and Lillian shared a room, which felt quite cramped. Sleep was out of the question, and both replaced sleep with meditation. Herag found that even in the gray fog, he could still perceive the stars above and discern direction. He told Dino about this, but Dino, for safety's sake, decided to wait a bit longer. Navigating in the gray fog was too dangerous. Even knowing the direction was extremely risky. In the fog, space was disjointed. East could become west in a second. Waiting for the fog's automatic dispersal was the best option. Half a month later, the atmosphere on the ship became extremely delicate, as prolonged fog smothering caused most people to become very suffocated. Their emotions became increasingly irritable. With no sign of the gray fog dispersing, Dino went up to the 4th level. "Herag, come with me today. Let's try sailing. Staying longer here could be problematic." Dino's face was solemn. Herag nodded. "All right, Lillian, you come with me." He couldn't leave Lillian alone on the 4th level. It was too dangerous. With the fog blocking, if danger occurred, it couldn't be detected immediately. Herag and Lillian maintained their state well during this period. They could at least talk and occasionally joke, making the days not so hard. Others were all alone, every day cooped up in their rooms, surrounded by unknown gray fog. Even wizard apprentices found it hard to bear the enormous psychological pressure. Herag, Dino, and Lillian went to the captain's cabin. Herag sensed afterward, pointing to the back, indicating the northwest direction. Dino nodded and started the ship, controlling the speed to be slow, to cope with any emergencies. Herag focused entirely on sensing the 4 stars, constantly judging whether his direction was changing. The direction has changed. Now the northwest is over there. Herag pointed to the left side. Dino didn't speak. His hands steering immediately adjusted the ship's course. The ship sailed in the gray fog for tens of hours. The surroundings suddenly brightened. Herag opened his eyes and found they were now in normal sea territory. He looked behind, and the area where the fog was had disappeared. "Well done." Dino patted Herag's shoulder in praise. Herag sat down on the ground, exhaling in relief. In the fog, directions changed constantly, requiring him to maintain intense mental focus, and after coming out, he felt especially drained. Immediately, Dino took out the map and compass-like positioning tool, and then said, "We're back where we first encountered the lost sea fog. Luckily, we didn't go to some strange place." After the ship sailed for 7 more days, it made a brief stop at a small island called Colombo. The island wasn't large, but it was bustling, with the port teeming with people. Herag and a group of wizard apprentices came up on the deck, and Dino, standing in front, said, "We'll stay here overnight. You can go ashore and relax. But remember, I'm leaving tomorrow at noon sharp. I won't wait for anyone. This place belongs to our dream island, and it's watched over by wizards. Most people on the island are ordinary, so if anyone dares to cause trouble, be prepared for the wizard's punishment." Dino knew the group had been too stressed recently, and it just so happened that the commercial island of Colombo was developed with many taverns, inns, and strip dancers to let them unwind a bit here. Besides, the ship needed to replenish fresh water, so Dino simply docked the ship here. After getting off the ship, Lillian headed straight for an inn. Herag asked, "Why are you in such a hurry to come here?" "I haven't had a bath in months." Lillian paid for a room without looking back and went upstairs to take a bath. On the ship, there was no way to bathe, as all fresh water was precious, which was the most unbearable thing for Lillian. However, Lillian was prepared. She had an enchanted towel that was always moist and could be used to wipe her body. Herag had seen that towel, but Lillian wouldn't let him touch it. He guessed the magic inside probably absorbed moisture from the air. He also booked a room downstairs for himself. The prices here weren't cheap. A room for one night actually cost a whole silver coin. Herag looked at the setup of the room. It was simple but very clean, with all the items neatly arranged. After he finished bathing and waited a while, Lillian finally got ready, and then the two went out together. As night fell, the island of Colombo became even more lively, with people everywhere singing, dancing, and drinking around campfires. There's also a long commercial street here, where most vendors laid a mat on the ground and then displayed their goods. The variety of goods was diverse, from handcrafted hats and baskets to clay bottles and jars, as well as all sorts of antiques. While passing by a stall, something caught Herag's attention, and he knelt down by the stall, casually picking up an antique vase and asked, "How much for this?" The vendor was a bald, middle-aged man holding a black cat. He glanced at the vase and said, 20 silver coins. Too expensive." Herag put the vase down. "It's fake. What are you buying that for?" Lillian asked puzzledly. "Just browsing." Herag then picked up a few more items and asked for prices, finally seemingly casually selecting a few items, spending a total of 16 silver coins. Lillian eyed him but didn't speak. After dinner, they returned to the inn, and Lillian went to Herag's room and asked after closing the door, "What were you doing earlier? Did you find something good? Show me." Herag pulled out a hexagonal plate made of some kind of wood, its color pitch black. In the middle of the plate was a painting of a hexagonal tower, identical to the one inside his pocket watch. Lillian examined the plate thoroughly and asked puzzledly, "Is this a treasure? I don't see anything unusual, nor is there any magical energy flow. Maybe it's not a treasure, but I've seen this painting in the middle before, so I bought it," Herag explained. He was actually unsure if the item had any value, but the painting was indeed identical to the one in the pocket watch. Lillian lost interest listening to him. "I thought it was some great treasure. Boring. All right, I'm tired too, going to sleep." Herag lay on the soft bed, overcome by fatigue, planning to have a good night's sleep. Ever since learning the meditation method, he hardly slept, substituting meditation for sleep. The ship made only a brief overnight stay at Colombo and then sped off towards the Kala continent. More than 20 days later, Herag stood on the deck, faintly seeing the shadow of the continent in the distance. The ship docked at Ruby Port, and all the wizard apprentices disembarked here. Dino walked at the front, saying to everyone, "Everyone, follow me." He led the group through the streets to a tavern, which was named the Broken Cauldron Bar. "Hey, it's Dino. He's back with the newcomers." "Let me see. Quite a lot of newcomers this time. Welcome to the Kala continent, young lads." As soon as Dino walked into the tavern, he attracted a lot of attention, with many people greeting him. The wizard apprentices he brought along became the new topic for conversation in the tavern. Herag noticed that everyone here was a wizard, most of them at the wizard apprentice level. "I didn't see a single wizard outside just now. Why are there so many here?" A wizard's exclusive tavern. Herag was a bit puzzled. He estimated there must be some magic he hadn't noticed at the entrance of the tavern, which allowed only wizards to see and enter it. Lillian stood out among the group, with many people whistling at her, but she didn't even glance at these greasy wizards. Dino led them through the tavern to a wall in the back courtyard. He walked to the wall and pressed a few bricks in sequence, and then said, "Melinda." The wall made a rumbling sound, and then the bricks parted to reveal a path. The world behind the wall was completely different from the yard, with a forest and a winding stone slab path leading deep into the forest. While the forest was dimly lit and filled with birdsong, the yard was sunny, with great weather. Herag and the others were astonished at such a strange sight, seeing this kind of scene for the first time. Dino seemed accustomed to it, leading the way in front, waving a hand behind him. "Let's go." The group followed him into the world behind the wall, with many looking back after passing through, but it just appeared to be ordinary forest. The wall had disappeared. Dino turned around and said, "The various wizard organizations are just ahead. Wait and follow my arrangements. Today's the end of months of travel. Good luck to you all." He placed his left hand on his chest and bowed gracefully. "Thank you, Mr. Dino, for taking care of us all the way." Lillian curtsied, holding the edge of her long dress. Others also bowed and thanked him, as Dino was indeed very responsible throughout the journey, ensuring their safe arrival at the destination. In the gloomy forest, not a single ray of sunlight shone through, with thick fog enveloping all around. Herag looked up, and above the forest was heavy white mist. No sign of the sun could be seen. Occasionally, the cries of crows could be heard in the distance, adding to the desolate atmosphere. In the dark forest, Herag and the others followed silently behind Dino. The cold wind blew, with a somewhat biting chill. The stone pathway beneath Herag's feet was clean and tidy, without a single fallen leaf, and each slab of stone looked exactly the same. The group walked along the stone path for 10 minutes, arriving at a place resembling a garden. The garden was circular, with many paths extending outwards from its center, their destinations unknown. The stone path Herag and the others were on was just one of these paths. At the garden center, there was a fountain, bubbling and splashing continuously. Herag noticed that there were people in the garden. He counted 8 of them, standing in scattered groups. When Dino arrived, they all looked over. An old lady, wearing a tall gray pointed hat and a gray robe, walked over. She appeared to be in her 70s, and she spoke to Herag and the others. "Dino, I've heard that a beautiful and outstanding lady is joining us at Augustus Academy this time. Which one is she?" Dino laughed. "Professor Nina, don't rush. You can take her back once the testing is over." He turned around and gestured to Lillian. "Lillian, come over. This is Professor Nina from Augustus Academy." "Professor Nina." Lillian curtsied timidly, exuding the aura of a noble lady, graceful in her demeanor, yet with a hint of shyness. Watching this scene, Herag almost laughed. This woman was pretentious. The more Nina looked, the more she liked her. She pulled Lillian over. "Not bad." The other 7 wizards also started gathering around, both men and women, all exuding an extraordinary aura. Dino called out to the wizard apprentices behind him, "Those with tokens, stand on my left. Those without, stand on my right." The 11 wizard apprentices quickly formed 2 groups. There were 7, including Herag and Lillian, who had tokens, and only 4 without. Herag was somewhat surprised that Feger also lacked a token. Dino took out a crystal ball and held it in his left hand, then addressed the wizard apprentices on both sides. Next is the wizard aptitude test, with a full score of 100. The higher the score, the better the aptitude. It's important to note that aptitude isn't everything. In the wizarding world, knowledge and effort are always more important. A good aptitude just means you can progress faster, not that you can slack off. Herag, you go first. Herag stood in the first row and stepped forward. Place your hand on it, then input magic power and relax, Dino advised. Herag did as instructed, placing his hand on the ball and inputting a trace of magic power. The crystal ball immediately swirled with white mist, which then condensed into the number 75. Herag, 75? Very good. Dino patted Herag's shoulder encouragingly. This number was beyond Herag's expectations. He had thought he would score around 40 or 50, playing the fool. A sinister-looking middle-aged man approached, staring at the fireball ring on Herag's hand. If I'm not mistaken, your ring is a token for Moonlight Forest. Yes, sir. Herag felt a strong sense of oppression as the man approached. Not intentional, but an aura inadvertently emitted with his every movement. With a pat on Herag's shoulder, Dino made the oppressive feeling disappear instantly. Dino introduced, "This is Larry Checky, a powerful wizard from Moonlight Forest. He will take you back later." "Mr. Larry," Herag greeted politely with a bow. Larry gave him a blank look, nodded slightly, and said, "You come with me later." "Second, Lillian." Dino continued with the testing. Lillian was standing right behind Herag, so she went up second for the test. 87. The crystal ball clearly displayed this number. "Very good, Miss Lillian," Dino exclaimed. "Thank you," Lillian said, holding up her skirt. Nina personally came over to grab Lillian's hand, unable to restrain her smile as she whispered secrets into Lillian's ear, unheard by anyone else around them. Those wizard apprentices with tokens quickly completed the tests. After Lillian, there was no one with a higher aptitude. The best was 72, and the lowest an astonishing score of only 15. Herag noticed that the 15-point boy was the same one Feger had hung to fish from the ship's bow, seemingly named Joshua. At this moment, Joshua looked lifeless and worried. His token was a feather pen from a luff swamp. Herag soon lost interest in him, focusing instead on the new round of tests that began shortly after. Among the 4 wizard apprentices without tokens, Feger stood at the back. It seemed he always favored staying behind others. The first 3 wizard apprentices scored between 60 and 70. Finally, it was Feger's turn. Herag watched intently, curious about the score of a second-class apprentice like Feger. Feger's eyes remained emotionless, like those of a snake. He always wore an indifferent expression, as if nothing concerned him. He placed his hand on the crystal ball, with a white mist rolled and eventually settled into a number, 5. A silence fell over the scene. 5? How did someone with a score of 5 achieve second-class apprentice status? And at such a young age? Herag was stunned. He had thought Feger should have a high aptitude. He recalled something Dino had once said, "Look at Feger. His spiritual power is very high, but extremely unstable, relying on extreme methods." Extreme methods. What kind of methods could elevate someone with a score of 5 to a second-class apprentice? It seemed Dino wasn't surprised as he coughed to break the silence and said, "Now that the test is over, those with tokens can go find your corresponding contact person." He turned to the 8 wizards who had come to pick them up and said, "So, now there are 4 wizard apprentices without tokens. Are any of you willing to accept them?" Among these 4, except for Feger, the other 3 exceeded the passing score and were quickly recruited by various wizard organizations. In the end, only Feger remained standing there, unapproached. Neither Herag nor his companions had expected that Feger would be without a token and end up as the last remaining wizard apprentice. "No one," Dino asked once more. "Come to Green Cottage with us." After a brief silence on site, a big-bearded man stepped forward and invited Feger. Feger said nothing, merely nodded slightly. "Let's go." the big beard said, and walked in front without looking back at Feger. Dino seemed to want to say something to Feger, but in the end, he just moved his throat without uttering a word. After the test, the contacts from various wizard organizations led their respective wizard apprentices away. Over by Professor Nina, there was only one wizard apprentice, Lillian. She held Lillian's hand and headed east. Lillian glanced back at Herag. She tiptoed and whispered something into Professor Nina's ear. After Professor Nina nodded, Lillian walked toward Herag. "What's up?" Herag asked. Lillian gave a slight smile and then threw herself into Herag's arms for a hug. "Remember to write to me. Don't forget we're allies. We must help each other in difficult times," Lillian said softly with her head buried in Herag's chest. "I know." Herag felt the warmth in his arms, and ripples stirred in his heart. "I'm off." Lillian waved at him and gradually disappeared into the white mist behind Professor Nina. "This way." Larry stood with his arms crossed by the flower bed. After Herag finished his goodbye, they set off on the stone-paved road heading north. As Herag looked around, he realized that only the two of them were left there, with Dino having left some time earlier. Seeing Larry's figure about to vanish into the white mist, Herag quickened his pace to catch up. This cobblestone road was the same as before, surrounded by a dense fog that seemed eternal. Larry walked ahead silently, while Herag observed the surroundings without speaking. A rustling sound came from the trees beside them. Herag looked up to find 3 crows perched on a branch, tilting their heads in unison to look at him. "Newcomer." "It's a newcomer," one of the crows actually spoke. "A newcomer has arrived. Should we catch a field mouse as a gift?" Another crow inquired. "Humans don't eat field mice," a crow screeched. "They love the caterpillars on cauliflower." "You're wrong. I remember it's the field mice. It's the caterpillars." The 3 crows started arguing, and as tempers flared, they began pecking at each other, scattering black feathers all over the ground. After taking a few more steps, the noise of the crows' quarrel gradually faded, aided by the white mist's capability to dull human perception. 20 minutes later, Herag and Larry reached the end of the stone-paved road. There was no more road ahead, but rather a dense forest, with the ground covered in fallen leaves and a sunken metal bucket placed at the center. Larry walked over to crouch beside the bucket and pressed a finger on its edge, then turned back, saying, "Come, place your hand on it." Confused about what he intended to do, Herag obediently crouched down and mimicked Larry by placing a finger on the bucket's edge. The bucket was filled with fallen leaves soaked in murky rainwater, in which mosquito larvae-like creatures swam. Seeing Herag prepared, Larry recited a spell. "Mentos." Herag felt a powerful suction force emanating from the bucket, gripping his finger tightly to the bucket's edge. Simultaneously, a strong thrust came from behind, pushing continuously through his navel area. The surroundings began to spin rapidly, spinning faster and faster. Dizzy, Herag couldn't discern what was around him and was forced to close his eyes. Herag had no sense of how long this state lasted. When he instinctively opened his eyes, he found himself in a square. In the center of the square was a huge statue of a curly-haired man holding a book in his left hand and flipping its pages with his right, his eyes gazing forward. That is Carlos Torren, the founding father of the Moonlight Forest, who established it 3,000 years ago. He was a great wizard. Larry looked at the statue with deep respect. He continued, "This place is called Carlos Square. To the south of Carlos Square lies the forest shrouded in white mist, while to the north there is a long stone bridge. The stone bridge spans about 700 meters, with a black chasm beneath it that seems bottomless. Statues line the bridge's railings at 10-meter intervals, showcasing various forms, including gargoyles and knights with sword and shield." As they walked, Larry explained, "I'll take you to register first." Herag walked across the stone bridge, where a perpetual wind howled through the canyon below. High-energy magical source detected. High-energy magical source detected. Shenlan continuously issued alerts. Upon checking, Herag found that every statue on the bridge was a source of high magical power. Herag astutely perceived that these statues were watching him as he passed. This is one of the defenses of our moonlight forest. Each statue here has considerable strength, said Larry without turning his head. On the opposite side of the bridge was a complex of buildings with a distinct Gothic style, featuring the classic pointed spires. Larry led Herag to a 5-story building, introducing it with, "This is the operations hall where personnel registration, task assignments, and postings are handled. You'll come here often in the future." Herag nodded, making a mental note of the place. Upon stepping into the operations hall, he was greeted by the soft yellow glow of the lights. Elegant crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, emitting gentle yellow light. The hall was spacious, with numerous department windows around it. Many people queued before the windows to handle affairs, while busy wizards inside signed and stamped documents. The arrival of Herag attracted no attention. They went directly to a window labeled Personnel Affairs. Behind the window was a chubby middle-aged woman, her name tag reading Jennifer. She looked up and asked, "What do you need?" "New member," Larry replied. Jennifer glanced at Herag and asked, "Do you have a token?" "Yes." Herag removed a ring from his finger and placed it in front of the window. Jennifer picked up the ring, examined it for a while, then swallowed it whole. Closing her eyes, she said, "All right, no problem." After her inspection, she spat the ring out and placed it in front of the window, gesturing for Herag to take it back. Herag frowned at the saliva-covered ring, but reluctantly took it back. He already sensed that Jennifer was also an official wizard and didn't want to offend her right after arriving. After checking the ring, Jennifer pushed off with her feet, causing the chair to retreat with a heavy sound. She then opened the drawer in front and rummaged through it chaotically. After a while, she pulled out a yellowed piece of paper from a pile of wrinkled sheets. "Fill out this form." Larry handed the form to Herag, who took it and glanced at it. It was titled Moonlight Forest New Member Registration Form. Larry advised, "Don't fill it out carelessly. You can leave spaces blank, but don't lie. There's enchantment magic on this form." This prompted Herag to notice the faint flow of magic power within the paper, subtle enough to go unnoticed without special attention. Beside the window was a quill and a bottle of ink, which Herag took to carefully fill out his information. The form was detailed: age, gender, birthplace, practice of meditation methods, duration of practice. He even noticed a section asking, "Are you a virgin?" "Sign your name in this spot after you finish filling it out." Larry pointed to a blank space at the end. Herag checked it again, making sure everything that needed to be filled in was completed, and then signed his name at the bottom. Herag Merlin. The form instantly burst into blue flames, and Herag instinctively withdrew his hand, only to realize the flames had no temperature. The flames spread quickly, engulfing the entire form, which was soon consumed without leaving a trace of ash. "Welcome to the Moonlight Forest," Larry said blandly. Jennifer pulled out a small slip of paper, then picked up a stamp and pressed it heavily onto the slip, with such force that Herag wondered if the paper might get damaged. "Go to the materials office to receive your items." Jennifer handed the slip through the window. Herag looked at it. The slip contained his basic information and a list of supplies. 1 wizard apprentice robe, 1 magic net talisman stone, 3 course selection vouchers, 1 room in the Northern Forest area dormitory, 1 library first floor privileges borrowing card, 1 magic stone. The list was quite long, containing many items. The materials office window had many people lined up, already forming a long queue. "Mr. Larry." "Good evening, Mr. Larry. Looks like there's a newcomer, and quite a handsome chap." "Mr. Larry, when will your herbalism class start again? Or can I pay for a private lesson?" All those in line were wizard apprentices. Once someone noticed Larry, the others turned to greet him as well. Larry maintained a blank expression. "I'm busy with experiments recently, so I have no time to open a class, nor to provide tutoring." "Mr. Larry, do you teach herbalism?" Herag asked. "I generally teach herbalism and magic potion, but I haven't had the time to start any classes lately," Larry replied. After queuing for a while, Herag signed a slip and then received his pile of items. The wizard apprentice robe was gray-brown and felt very soft to the touch. This robe had certain magical defense properties, reducing spell damage received by the wearer. The magic net talisman stone was a rectangular transparent crystal. When Herag input magic power into it, a virtual screen was projected from the crystal, displaying options such as friends, course schedule, tasks, and tavern gossip. Larry took out a similar talisman stone and said, "The magic net is a wide-area magic developed jointly by our Karg Wizard organization, primarily used for information transmission, and it's been established for 2,000 years. The talisman stone is important. You need to learn how to use it. Through the stone, you can connect with other wizards, check courses, enroll in courses, and browse tasks published by others. The number in the upper right corner is your ID, which others can use to add you as a friend and contact you. There are many functions, so take some time to learn them. Isn't this just a communicator?" Herag quickly got the hang of it and even proactively added Larry as a friend. The course selection vouchers were 3 green cards, with the Moonlight Forest emblem on the front and usage instructions on the back. Larry explained, "Many of the official wizards in the organization will offer various courses, and you need to register at least a week in advance. You can check this month's courses through the course schedule, which shows dates and locations. Typically, enrolling in courses requires paying with gold coins or magic stones, and some courses have specific requirements set by the instructor, like providing certain materials before you can enroll. These 3 course vouchers allow you to enroll in any standard course. You should carefully consider how to use these 3 vouchers. I recommend signing up for some basic courses. Even if you enroll in advanced courses, you won't understand them and will waste the opportunity." Herag asked, "Mr. Larry, do you have any recommended courses?" Larry pondered. Mr. Oleg Zotiv's Basic Principles of Spell Model Construction and Ms. Loli Afin's Basic Principles of Meditation are both quite suitable for you. Choosing these 2 can't go wrong. The rest should depend on your own situation and what you want to learn. Thank you, Mr. Larry. If your herbalism and magic potion courses start, I'll definitely enroll," Herag said with a smile. "I suggest studying those 2 courses later as they require sufficient funds. You won't be able to do many experiments without money, and the materials are quite expensive," Larry said seriously. Herag took out the dark magic stone and asked, "How much is a magic stone worth in gold coins?" "The market price is 100 gold coins, but no one would sell magic stones to get gold coins, as others would think you're a fool. Transactions between wizards are often settled with magic stones, not gold coins." Larry led Herag out of the affairs hall, next heading to the dormitory in the northern forest area. Herag took out a copper key with a small wooden tag attached to its end, on which was written, "Room 443, Northern Forest Area." The interior of the Moonlight Forest was even larger than what Herag had seen from the outside. After leaving the affairs hall, it took him a full half-hour to walk through various streets and alleys before reaching the Northern Forest Area dormitory. The Northern Forest Area was a forested mountain region with thick trees, and within the forest were scattered 3-story cottages. These cottages served as dormitories for wizard apprentices, 1 person per cottage. On the way to room 443, Herag noticed that each of these cottages was different, with colors varied, and some with small vegetable gardens next to them, well tended. Larry explained, "Once assigned to you, this house belongs to you, so you can remodel it to your liking." "Where do you live, Mr. Larry?" Herag asked curiously. "I live in the town," Larry replied. "In town?" Larry stopped and looked back at the buildings they had just passed and said, "The area we just walked through is called the town, where only official wizards can live. The Northern Forest area is generally for wizard apprentices, though some remain there even after becoming official wizards. It all depends on personal preference. The houses in town have spatial magic, so the interior space is quite large." "I see," Herag mused, preferring the solitary forest homes for their tranquility. "Here we are. My task is complete. If you have any more questions, you can consult the affairs hall. Someone there will be able to help you." Larry finished and then vanished into a wisp of smoke. "Mr. Larry sure clocks out quickly," Herag observed, hardly having time to thank him. He turned back to look at his new home, a three-story detached structure surrounded by dense forest, a stream gently flowing nearby. This environment, though lacking a bit of the lived-in feel, was very suitable for a wizard's life, as both wizard meditation and experimental research required a quiet setting. Herag inserted the copper key into the door slot, and once inside, the door activated with a flow of magic, unlocking automatically with a click. After the door opened, the lights inside the room automatically illuminated, casting a soft yellow glow. The room was furnished completely with tables, chairs, and other furniture, and there was a stack of wood beside the fireplace. Some oil paintings hung on the walls, mostly landscapes. The lamps on the walls resembled those on the ship, but with a more refined design, softer light, and a pale yellow stone inside. The first floor of the house was a lounge and kitchen. The second floor had 3 rooms, 1 bedroom, 1 study, and 1 empty. The third floor was an attic with a lower height, suitable for storing sundries. The kitchen was equipped with complete dinnerware and various condiments, and Herag also found tea leaves and coffee. Herag lit the wood to start a fire in the fireplace, then heated a kettle and brewed a cup of coffee for himself. After a brief rest, Herag began to arrange the subsequent plan. Shenlan, provide a suggested study plan. The suggested study plan is as follows. 1. Study basic principles of meditation. 2. Study basic principles of spell model construction. 3. Study multiple languages. 4. Study a defensive level 0 spell. 5. Study and attack magic. Shenlan devised a series of plans, and Herag realized he had a significant amount of work ahead of him as he looked at the schedule. He checked the timetable through the Talisman Stone. Classes at Moonlight Forest were scheduled from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., each lasting 3 hours. This month, almost every single day was packed with different types of classes, including anatomy, necrobiology, shadow studies, etc. Herag searched and found lowly Aphin's Basic Principles of Meditation, which was conveniently starting a new round of classes next Monday. This price. He glanced at the cost of the course, which required 15 gold coins. Gold coins were to be paid in person, but Herag had a course voucher. He could simply use the voucher then. Moonlight Forest periodically converted the vouchers into gold coins for the teaching wizards. The meditation class consisted of 3 sessions, totaling 9 hours. Just one course costs 15 gold coins, and it's only a basic course. Herag took out his wallet from a space ring and counted it, finding only 20 gold coins in total. Let's see the tasks. Herag accessed the task section to survey the situation. Wanted, Herbalism Experimental Assistant. Must possess herbalism knowledge, hired after passing on-site assessment, payment 30 gold coins. Looking for assistance in slaying a mountain giant. Requires at least a second-class apprentice with 2 or more attack magic spells, payment 20 magic stones. Collect Ghost Valley Walking Grass, 20 gold coins per plant. The Talisman Stone could only browse tasks and contact task publishers. Posting tasks required going to the Affairs Hall, filling in the information, and paying a deposit, whereby the task would subsequently update on the magic net. Each Talisman Stone was bound to the corresponding wizard, and its internal functions varied depending on the wizard organization. The usage distance of the Talisman Stone was also limited. It could only be used within the area where the 8 wizard organizations were located. Beyond that, it became unusable, though it sufficed for everyday use. Herag ended up enrolling in Basic Principles of Meditation, Basic Principles of Spell Model Construction, and Basic Introduction to Herbalism. He calculated that the 3 courses would normally require 70 gold coins. In Herbalism, Larry temporarily had no course plans, so Herag opted for the course of a female, which named Yuna. The 3 courses would be completed within 3 weeks, and Herag's next plan was to borrow books. The courses here did not provide textbooks, so wizard apprentices had to prepare them themselves. They could directly borrow from libraries if a copy was available. Otherwise, they could only purchase from other wizard apprentices. The library at Moonlight Forest was the tallest building here, with a full 17 floors. This library, already over 2,000 years old, housed a variety of books. Herag's library card privileges were at the lowest level, allowing him to borrow books only from the first floor. Fortunately, the 3 books required for his classes were foundational and located on the first floor. Herag borrowed the textbooks for meditation and herbalism, but the ones for spell model construction were already borrowed out, with none left for now. You could check the flea market. The librarian noticed he was a newcomer and suggested helpfully. Flea market? The library administrator said, wizards in the forest sell unneeded items there, everything imaginable. You can go take a look. Following the librarian's directions, Herag reached the west side of the town, where the flea market was. It was not much different from ordinary street markets, except it was quieter, as wizards generally kept to themselves. Many wizard apprentices manning stalls were absorbed in reading books, putting their studies aside only to conduct business when someone asked. The stalls offered various oddities, including body parts of unidentified animals, common sights by now. Herag even noticed someone selling dung, labeled as dragon dung. Oddly enough, the dung seemed fresh, hardly resembling dragon dung. Herag frowned and hurriedly moved away from the area, towards stalls featuring books. One stall had several piles of books, and the vendor was a bespectacled, slender boy. "Do you have the book Basic Principles of Spell Model Construction?" Herag asked. The boy adjusted his glasses and nodded. Yes. He struggled to search through the pile of books, appearing to have forgotten its location, and after considerable effort, finally found it. "How much is it?" Herag asked. 50 silver coins. Herag was a bit incredulous. "How much?" The boy explained, "That's the going rate. I bought it for 50 silver coins as well. You can sell it after the class and recoup your costs. We all do this. Buying these books is merely to break even, not to make a profit." To be cautious, Herag asked around at other stalls and found that the boy's claims were true. While he didn't entirely believe they weren't making profits, the market price was indeed thus. "Here." Herag counted out 50 silver coins and took the spell model book. Once the boy tallied the silver coins, he asked, "You're a newcomer, right? You can add me as a talisman stone friend. I have a lot of books." "Okay." Herag agreed, figuring it would expedite future book searches. "Hello, I'm Leo Severon." Leo smiled. "Herag Merlin." After adding him, Herag's friend list contained 2 contacts. "I wonder what Lillian's talisman stone ID is." Herag suddenly pondered. They were unaware of the talisman stone's existence before coming, and they were currently reliant on letters for contact. Herag returned home and sat at his desk to write a letter, informing Lillian about his current situation and attached his talisman stone number. There was a mailbox in town, so Herag dropped it off the next day on his way to class. Lady Loli's meditation course was held in a high tower, and there weren't many wizard apprentices attending, only 5 people. Herag glanced at the others and noticed they were all first-class apprentices like him who had just joined. He was the only one who came by ship from the sea. Moonlight Forest had more than just one source of new blood. Lady Loli appeared to be around 30 years old, exuding the charm of a mature woman. Her attire was rather bold, with long legs draped in black silk, perfectly outlining their curves. "Thank you all for registering for my course. I will use these 3 classes to explain the basic principles of meditation." Lady Loli opened her textbook and began to teach. As you all know, meditation is about sensing the ubiquitous free energies, absorbing and converting them to enhance our spiritual power, thus increasing our strength. Even without learning any meditation method, simply meditating can complete this process, but at a much slower and less efficient pace. That is why meditation methods were born. Although most meditation methods differ, the basic principle is the same, which is the contemplation method. The contemplation method involves selecting an anchor for yourself, and during meditation, using this anchor to speed up the absorption of free energy. Different anchors create different meditation methods, and the effects vary. Common anchors include earth, vegetation, and rivers. These types of anchors are the most common, but have average efficiency. It is said that in ancient times, there were meditation methods to contemplate the sun, moon, and stars. These methods were immensely powerful and had high limits, but are lost to history. Relevant information has been gathered. Data on meditation methods are being supplemented. As Herag listened to the lecture, Shenlan was also inputting and analyzing the information conveyed by Lady Lowly. Herag instantly felt enlightened by her lecture. Merely reading the textbook hadn't given him such a profound understanding. Lady Lowly's explanation made him feel as if a veil had been lifted. The starry sky meditation technique is truly extraordinary. He realized after the first class the uniqueness of the starry sky meditation technique. Typically, a meditation method involves continually contemplating a single anchor to increase spiritual power with limited efficiency. The starry sky meditation technique's anchor has no limit. With each successful meditation on a new star, his spiritual power could immediately grow. 2 days later, Herag had completed the 3 meditation classes. Besides gaining valuable insights, Shenlan had also collected much useful information. The information on the meditation method is sufficient to upgrade and optimize the starry sky meditation technique by consuming 360% magic power. Would you like to upgrade and optimize? Shenlan provided a prompt, which was something Herag didn't anticipate. He asked, what improvements come with upgrade and optimization? After optimization, the starry sky meditation technique will modify the meditation method to a combination array map method, significantly enhancing meditation speed. Upgrade and optimize the starry sky meditation technique. Upgrade and optimization underway. Estimated time, 5 days, 3 hours, and 25 minutes. Herag felt his own magic power draining slowly. This power was supplied to Shenlan for computing the upgrade and optimization. He didn't expect it to take so long. Constructing a spell model for the partial petrification technique only took 25 minutes. The magic power consumption was even more astonishing. A 360% consumption meant he would nearly exhaust his magic power and have to wait for it to replenish before continuing the meditation method upgrade. Fortunately, the magic power consumption was not all at once, and the meditation method upgrade could pause and await magic power recovery. During the meditation method upgrade, Herag took out the book Basic Principles of Spell Model Construction to read. Classes would start in a few days, and he needed to prepare in advance. Knock, knock. There was a knocking sound at the door, and when Herag opened it, he found a middle-aged man with a large package on his back, also a wizard apprentice. Hello. Are you Mr. Herag Merlin? He asked, holding a note. That's me. What's the matter? Herag inquired. The man took out a wooden box from the large package on his back and said, I am Evo, responsible for delivering and retrieving things in the forest. This is something sent to you by Miss Lillian from Audiobook Academy. Oh, Herag received the wooden box, feeling its weight. It wasn't clear what was inside. Please sign here. Evo fished out a quill pen from his pocket, moistened it with his mouth, and handed it to Herag. Herag carefully grasped the quill by its end and signed his name on the note. Thank you. If you have anything to send, just find me. Evo smiled, put away the note, and carried the large package to his next destination. Using a bit of force, Herag opened the lid of the wooden box. Inside was a small golden cloth bag and a letter. He first opened the letter. If I don't reach out to you, you won't write to me, huh? This is the first time in my life writing to a man. Recently, Professor Nina accepted me as her student, and she covers all my study expenses and treats me very well. I asked Professor Nina about it specifically. I heard that courses in Moonlight Forest are very expensive, and you're likely to earn gold coins and magic stones by completing tasks to procure resources yourself. I figured since I don't need gold coins right now, and have plenty to spare, I sent you 500 gold coins. Remember, I'm lending it to you, and you have to pay it back later. But being the generous person I am, I won't charge you interest. After you receive it, make sure to count them. I don't quite trust the person delivering the items here. Let's work hard together, and remember not to take on too dangerous tasks. Life is long, and there's no need to take unnecessary risks. Lastly, I'm still resentful about you not writing to me. Remember to add me as a Talisman Stone friend after receiving this letter, and be sure to write me back. Lillian Stewart, Holy Radiance Calendar 4175, June 25th. Herag murmured after reading the letter. The 25th, so she wrote it the same day I wrote mine. She hadn't received my letter yet when she wrote it. He picked up the exquisite golden cloth bag, and upon opening it, found it filled with glittering gold coins. Shenlan, count how many gold coins there are. Herag immediately instructed Shenlan to count them. There are a total of 500 gold coins. Looks like none are missing. This amount of money is a timely help. These 500 gold coins were truly a lifesaver for Herag, as he was in dire need of money. With these coins, he could focus on learning the knowledge he wanted, quickly enhance his abilities without expending too much effort in completing tasks to earn money. Does this mean I'm living off someone else's favor? Herag chuckled, took out the talisman stone, and entered Lillian's talisman stone number to add her as a friend. Your permission does not currently allow cross-organization communication. The talisman stone displayed a message. Herag hadn't anticipated such a restriction, but upon reflection, he understood why. He was just a first-class wizard apprentice, and the relationships among wizard organizations were complex, involving both cooperation and conflict. If he were an insider infiltrating, it would be easy to leak information. 5 days later, the Starry Sky meditation technique upgrade optimization is complete. Herag closed his eyes and began to meditate. After the upgrade of the Starry Sky meditation technique, the 3.5 stars in Herag's mind, which were originally scattered randomly, are now connected together. Shenlan added an auxiliary background, and Herag understood. It resembled the 1,000-array maps he encountered when deciphering the pocket watch, but these maps had fewer points. The existing 3 stars are sequentially positioned on several magic power points of the first map. Herag calculated that there are 7 more magic power points on this map. The 3 stars form part of an array map, connected in a continuous line. During meditation, Herag discovered that the 3 stars had a slight connection, significantly increasing the speed of meditation. The 4th star was initially expected to take another month, but at this pace, it would be solidified within a week. In addition to the increased meditation speed, the speed of magic power circulation also improved considerably. Partial petrification. Herag's right hand turned grayish-white. Shenlan, how long did this casting take? This partial petrification took 0.86 seconds. Herag contemplated 0.86 seconds. It previously took 1.3 seconds. The improvement is notable. This 0.5-second improvement can be considered significant, playing an important role in real combat situations. Once the first array map is completed, there should be further changes. Herag decided to enroll in multiple courses to provide Shenlan with sufficient data support and information entry. With Shenlan's powerful data analysis and calculation capabilities, Herag only needs to input enough data, and Shenlan can accomplish many tasks. During the upgrade period of the meditation method, Herag took the time to write another letter to Lillian. Due to the permission restrictions of the Moonlight Forest Talisman Stone, they can only communicate via letters. 5 days later, the basic principles of spell model construction data has been entered, increasing spell model construction speed by 20%. The Herbalism database has been updated, adding multiple magic potion material effects and uses, new conventional magic potion refining procedures, new Wolf's Bane potion formula, and White Fresh Cure potion formula. In 5 days, Herag completed the basic principles of spell model construction course and the basic introduction to herbalism course. At the same time, the 4th star of the Starry Sky meditation technique was also successfully meditated on. Herag Merlin, Power 2.2, Agility 2.0, Constitution 3.0, Spirit 6.9, Magic Power 100%. After this successful meditation, other physical data had minor improvements as well. 2 stars left to become a second-class apprentice. Herag silently calculated. Once he meets the spiritual power criteria, he can attempt to break through to a second-class apprentice. Next is learning 2 spells. Currently, Herag only had 1 spell, partial petrification, and his offensive and defensive means were too limited. Level 0 spells generally have dedicated spell model books, just like partial petrification. Herag can opt to purchase from an official wizard or seek to buy from fellow wizard apprentices. He thought of Leo, the one with glasses, and took out a talisman stone, opened a friend list, and sent a message. "Do you have any level 0 spell models?" A while later, Leo replied, "Yes, what type do you need?" "One offensive and one defensive." For offense, there's Ice Cone Technique, Small Fireball Technique, Corrosive Arrow. For defense, Ice Shield. Leo then projected several diagrams showing the overview spell models of these spells, along with brief data and effect descriptions. Ice Cone Technique. High magic power consumption, fast speed, strong attack, with freezing effect affected in hot areas. Small Fireball Technique. High magic power consumption, moderate speed, strong attack, with explosion and burning effect, can't be cast underwater. Corrosive Arrow. Moderate magic power consumption, extremely fast speed, strong attack with a corrosion effect. Ice Shield. High magic power consumption, weak resistance to fire attribute spells. After a quick scan, Herag asked how much. Each is 2 magic stones, or 300 gold coins if paying with gold coins. So expensive? Herag hadn't realized level 0 spells were priced this high. Leo replied, "That's the standard price. Compared to magic potion materials, level 0 spell models are quite cheap. The prices for level 0 spells are transparent. You can easily find out. However, newly joined wizard apprentices usually can't afford level 0 spells. Generally, they do some tasks to earn magic stones before studying level 0 spells. If you accept tasks, it's best to find those rewarding magic stones. Gold coin tasks, while simple, are too slow." Herag wandered around the Gossip Tavern for a while, searching level 0 spells with keywords, and indeed found it to be this price. He opened Leo's chat window and replied, "I'll take the Corrosive Arrow. I'll pay with gold coins." "All right, I'll bring it to you. Where do you live?" "Room 443. 10 minutes later, Leo arrived with a heavy book and a bunch of drafts. He also lived in the Northern Forest region, not far from here. "This is the spell model for Corrosive Arrow you wanted, and these drafts are some of my previous calculations, which you can use as a reference." Leo's drafts were densely filled with many parameters and formulas, with a neat reasoning process. "Here's 300 gold coins. Count them." Herag's money pouch was suddenly much lighter, which pained him a little. Lillian probably didn't expect Herag's gold coin consumption to be this quick. Leo adjusted his glasses and used magic power to let the gold coins jump one by one into his pocket. "Transaction complete. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. While I'm not busy, I can provide answers." The Corrosive Arrow spell is a bit challenging. After checking all the coins, Leo got up to leave. "All right, thank you." Herag got up to see Leo to the door. After closing the door, Herag sighed. "I didn't expect there to be after-sales service." Leo indeed has the air of a researcher. Apart from the long robe provided by the forest, Leo's clothes were simple, coarse cloth garments. His hurried appearance suggested that he was probably busy researching spells. Herag guessed that his life might also be tight. Otherwise, he wouldn't have set up a stall at the flea market. The wizarding profession is indeed very costly. Right now, Herag only has over 200 gold coins and 1 magic stone left, just enough to buy a second level 0 spell. For now, no suitable defensive spell is available. He felt the Ice Shield spell was too limited, and many people knew the Small Fireball technique, which often gets restricted. Among the 3 offensive spells, he eliminated the Small Fireball technique first because his ring was already enchanted with this spell, though the casting speed is slower. The Ice Cone technique wasn't suitable for sustained combat. His spiritual power was lacking, his magic was limited, and the Ice Cone technique consumed too much magic power. Thus, he finally went with the Corrosive Arrow spell, as its usage scenarios are relatively broad. Though he didn't need Leo's drafts much, Shenlan could complete all the calculation processes. Even the spell model construction didn't need to be done manually. Nevertheless, he went through the drafts in their entirety, recognizing Leo as a very logical wizard. Shenlan, begin entering corrosive arrow data. And corrosive arrow data has been entered. Corrosive arrow spell model analysis is complete. Corrosive arrow spell model construction plan is complete. Herag waited for a few minutes, and Shenlan processed the information related to the corrosive arrow, ready to start constructing the spell model at any time. Shenlan, start constructing the corrosive arrow spell model. The task has been archived. Estimated remaining time, 20 minutes. Estimated magic power consumption, 17%. 20 minutes? The number of parameters and formulas for corrosive arrow is nearly twice that of partial petrification technique. Yet it takes 5 minutes less than constructing the partial petrification technique. It seems that the spell model class was really worth it, Herag analyzed. In Herag's mind, Shenlan was precisely controlling spiritual power to construct the corrosive arrow spell model, calculating each step's parameters and formulas at the speed of light, the process seamless. 20 minutes later, corrosive arrow spell model construction completed. Remaining magic power, 83%. Herag pulled a log from beside the fireplace and placed it in the middle of the living room, then stepped a few meters away. He controlled his magic power, channeling it into the corrosive arrow spell model in his mind. A black energy arrow with some green in it appeared before him, forming quickly. Shenlan's statistics showed it only took 0.12 seconds to complete this spell casting. Herag guided the corrosive arrow to shoot out and hit the log in the living room. The log was split in half. From the cross-section, black corrosive energy began to spread. And in the blink of an eye, the two halves of the log were covered by corrosive energy, making a sizzling sound. A pungent smell was released. Herag approached to examine, and bubbles were emerging on the surface of the log. The corrosiveness of the energy was very strong, penetrating deep into the log, swiftly corroding the two halves into hollowed-out decay. The effect is good. Herag was quite satisfied with this corrosive arrow. If the corrosive arrow hit a person, it would torment them like bone-entrenched maggots, difficult to handle. Remaining magic power, 77%. Herag contemplated casting the corrosive arrow once consumes 6% magic power. This spell doesn't have the straightforward destructive power of fireball technique or ice cone technique, but it excels in sustained combat, high tolerance for mistakes. I can miss many shots, but once you are hit, you will be entirely on the defensive. But similarly, right now, I have no means of defending against other people's spells. Herag frowned. This was a problem that needed quick resolution. He opened the talisman stone, sent Leo a message. Do you have anything besides Ice Shield? Can you find other defensive magic? After a moment, Leo replied, For now, I only have Ice Shield. You might want to post a task to purchase or ask an official wizard you know. They usually have more options. Okay, thanks. You're welcome. Herag decided to ask Larry. If all else failed, he'd have to post a task to acquire a defensive magic. The key problem was that he didn't have much money on him right now. Mr. Larry, are you there? I'd like to buy a level 0 defensive spell model. Do you happen to have one suitable? Herag asked directly. The message went hours without a response, but Herag wasn't anxious, poured a cup of coffee, and continued reading the book on corrosive arrow. After a while, there was finally a reply from Larry. I have one. Suitable for you are Ice Shield, Mana Shield, and Dark Energy Shield. Ice Shield has strong defense against physical attacks, but is relatively weak against many spells. Mana Shield has some defense against both physical and spells, but requires continuous magic power consumption. Dark Energy Shield is strong against both physical and spells, but its drawback is its vulnerability to light element spell attacks, although encounters with light element attack spells are rare. Herag weighed the options for a while, having an idea, and asked Larry for advice. Mr. Larry, do you have any suggestions? Considering your situation comprehensively, I recommend Mana Shield and Dark Energy Shield. But Dark Energy Shield is complex to learn, too high tier for a novice wizard apprentice like you. So Mana Shield is preferable, Larry replied. Thank you, Mr. Larry. I've decided on Dark Energy Shield. How much is that? Larry wrote back, 3 magic stones. I only have 1 magic stone and 200 gold coins. Can I owe you one? Herag looked at his pockets, feeling a bit embarrassed. All right, come to my house tomorrow. The location is Building 5, Zone C in the town. Larry agreed to Herag's credit request. Thank you, Mr. Larry. Herag was genuinely grateful to Larry, who appeared unapproachable but quite helpful to wizard apprentices. Considering the actual market price, Larry still took a loss, not to mention one still owed. Herag arrived in the town early the next day, following signs to locate Building 5, Zone C. He looked up at the 7-story-high Building 5, marveling at the excellent treatment wizards receive. Such a large building belonged solely to Larry. At the main entrance, there was a doorbell, which Herag pressed lightly. Soon the door opened, but he didn't see anyone. I'm here, a voice came from below. Looking down, Herag saw a green-skinned goblin in ragged clothes. You're Mr. Herag. I'll lead you upstairs, said the goblin, walking ahead. All right, thank you. Herag was curious about seeing humanoid species for the first time. The goblin murmured, You're the first wizard to say thank you to me. Herag was momentarily speechless, unsure how to respond. The stairs in Larry's house spiraled upward. After ascending, Herag looked up to see an interior space with at least a dozen levels, much higher than the external view of 7 stories. The goblin led Herag to the 4th floor, a laboratory-looking area, with cultivated plants in containers and various specimens soaked in jars everywhere. Various colored potions were placed on some shelves, none of which Herag could distinguish with his limited knowledge. Herag, you've arrived. Gammy, you may go now. Larry appeared holding a test tube with yellow liquid. Yes, master. The goblin saluted, then shuffled downstairs. Watching him depart curiously, Larry laughed. This is a house elf. Quite common. But Gammy is already old, has forgotten some elf magic, doesn't serve much purpose now aside from cleaning. The room was overly crowded. Even the floor was covered with unidentified plants. The plants' branches and leaves extended, leaving little space to stand. Freshly brewed coffee. With a flick of Larry's finger, a cup of coffee floated over to the table. Herag glanced around the room, which was filled with magic potion tubes, and then looked at the coffee, sensing that the aroma seemed different. Larry laughed. Don't worry, it won't be contaminated by potions. I always follow safety standards during experiments. Herag awkwardly smiled and took a sip of the coffee, finding the taste acceptable. Come with me. Larry took off the gloves from his hands, plugged the test tube he was holding with a cork, and put it on a rack nearby. In the inner room, there was a desk. Larry picked up a book and a notebook from it. This is the spell model for the Dark Energy Shield, and this notebook contains all my research as a wizard apprentice on this spell. I hope it can be helpful to you, Larry said. Thank you, Mr. Larry. Herag noticed that the thickness of this notebook was almost catching up with the book. Ordinary wizard apprentices really have to put in tremendous effort to learn a spell, spending countless energy and time to complete the construction of a spell model. The Dark Energy Shield spell is highly practical, but also very challenging. For you, it might take a long time to learn. Don't rush. Make sure to fully understand it before constructing the spell model, otherwise it might damage your mind and affect future advancement. Larry offered some suggestions and then talked about points to pay attention to, including some pitfalls he had previously encountered. Only after a whole hour did Herag leave Larry's home. These experience shares are worth 2 magic stones, Herag thought to himself. Even though he had Shenlan and didn't need to worry about the model construction, these experiences were still very valuable. Although the spell models for partial petrification technique and corrosive arrow had been successfully constructed, Herag never stopped researching these spell models. He needed to analyze, learn, and summarize on his own, without relying too heavily on Shenlan. Only with a deep understanding of these principles can he increase his future potential. After returning home, Herag immediately let Shenlan begin analyzing the spell model for the Dark Energy Shield, while he carefully read through the book and notebook content. The analysis and organization of the Dark Energy Shield spell model and related materials are complete and ready for spell model construction at any time. A few minutes later, Shenlan finished analyzing and organizing the relevant materials. Begin construction of the Dark Energy Shield spell model. Task has been filed. Estimated remaining time is 45 minutes, with an expected magic power consumption of 48%. The Dark Energy Shield spell was more complex than Herag imagined, with the time and magic power consumed for the spell model construction far exceeding that of the other two level 0 spells. While reading the book and notebook, Herag found that the parameters and formulas for partial petrification technique and corrosive arrow were generally under 50, but the Dark Energy Shield spell had over 90 parameters and over 60 related formulas. Moreover, this spell also involved knowledge related to dark energy, which required learning fundamental knowledge related to elemental magic. For ordinary wizard apprentices, this spell was indeed too high tier, and learning it would be laborious. Herag prepared to thoroughly study the related knowledge of this spell. Shenlan could enhance his immediate combat power, but he couldn't slack off in researching and learning these spells himself. With Shenlan, he could obtain precise data, which would help him learn and understand faster. 45 minutes later, the Dark Energy Shield spell model construction is complete. Herag put down the book and began to cast the Dark Energy Shield to see the effect. A black and purple energy shield appeared around Herag's body, providing 365-degree no blind spot defense. Shenlan, how effective is this shield's defense? Herag asked. According to calculations, it can withstand 3 small fireball techniques released by you, Shenlan replied. 3 times, not bad. Herag was quite satisfied, as the small fireball technique was already considered one of the more powerful level 0 spells, and the Dark Energy Shield significantly improved his defense capability and forgiveness. Shenlan provided another tip. If it were a second-class or third-class wizard apprentice, the strength of release spells would be higher, and it would be expected to only withstand 1.5 times. This was as Herag expected, and as for official wizards, with a vast power gap, no shield would work. Now, I finally have some basic combat capability. After completing the learning of these 2 spells, Herag started planning his next step, which was to make money. Nothing can be done without magic stones and gold coins. Courses and resources all require money. He took out the talisman stone and opened the task interface to start searching for suitable tasks. Herag's standard for searching for tasks was low danger level, and the task rewards are magic stones. Hunt the magical beast giant spirit spider, ensuring the integrity of the silk cocoon, task reward of 20 magic stones. Herag looked up information on the giant spirit spider and immediately gave up on this task. The giant spirit spider requires at least a third-class wizard apprentice to handle, and ensuring the integrity of the silk cocoon added great difficulty. Probably only official wizards or particularly skilled third-class wizard apprentices could take on this task. Necromancy Experiment Assistant Wanted requires knowledge in necromancy, at least a second-class wizard apprentice, task reward of 5 magic stones. This task Herag could also only pass on since he lacked the required strength and knowledge, and necromancy spells generally carry certain risks, with necromancy experiments having the highest accident rate. Many necromancers end up neither dead nor alive due to accidents during experiments. Assassination Team Hiring. Target is a third-class apprentice. Requires at least a second-class wizard apprentice with strong combat capabilities. Task reward of 15 magic stones. Herag sighed slightly. With insufficient strength, he lacked the qualifications for many tasks. There are too few magic stone tasks available for first-class wizard apprentices, and it took Herag 2 hours to finally find one that seemed suitable. Harvest sleeping mushrooms in the moonlight forest. Exchange 10 mushrooms for 1 magic stone. Less than 10 will be exchanged for 10 gold coins. Herag didn't rush to sign up, but first went to the Gossip Tavern to gather information. After reading some posts, he roughly understood that this task was available every spring and summer. Sleeping mushrooms are a very important magic potion material, required in many magic potion formulas, with high demand. This task is published by the Moonlight Forest, accessible to all wizard apprentices. However, apart from first-class wizard apprentices, few people take on this task due to its low efficiency. Sleeping mushrooms are hidden underground, making them difficult to search for and pick, and they have the characteristic of masking magic power, making them hard to find. Many people spend 3 to 5 days in the Moonlight Forest and may not even find 10, which is too time-consuming. Only first-class wizards often take on this mission, as it's one of the few tasks that can earn magic stones, and it's relatively safe. Herag continued to browse some information about the sleeping mushrooms, which generally grow 20 to 30 centimeters below the ground. Experienced individuals typically rely on their experience to observe if the ground is suitable for sleeping mushrooms and then dig to check for them. This method also has a low success rate. Veterans also need to spend a lot of time. Perhaps I can let Deep Blue give it a try. After considering comprehensively, Herag believed this mission might be quite suitable for him. This mission doesn't require formal acceptance. After picking the sleeping mushrooms, you can directly exchange them for magic stones at the operations hall. Once Herag made his decision, he started preparing, needing to buy some related items at the flea market. The Moonlight Forest is located north of the Northern Forest region, taking an hour on foot or just over 20 minutes by carriage. There's a station at the entrance of the Northern Forest region where you can take a carriage to the Moonlight Forest. The fare is 2 silver coins, free for official wizards, although official wizards generally don't take the carriage. While waiting for the carriage at the station, Herag noticed 3 others also waiting, all wearing wizard apprentice robes. Are you going to Moonlight Forest too? After a brief silence, a chubby wizard initiated the conversation. Yes, it's my first time going there. A frail wizard apprentice said somewhat nervously. After a brief introduction, the 4 of them got to know each other a bit. The chubby wizard is named Mackin. The frail one is called Luca, and the other is named Sunny. Mackin had been there 3 times, having earned a magic stone and some gold coins. The other 2 were first-timers like Herag. Don't go too deep into the Moonlight Forest. Stay on the outskirts, Mackin advised. Why? This mission should be quite low risk, Luca asked. Mackin explained, the mission itself isn't dangerous, but the deeper parts of the Moonlight Forest not only have magical beasts, but you might also encounter people from the Green Cottage. Green Cottage? The Moonlight Forest is pretty far from them. It should be hard to encounter them, right? Lucas said, recalling the topography. The probability is indeed low, but someone once went too deep and encountered people from Green Cottage, got tortured to death, and their body was hung at the entrance of the Moonlight Forest. Mackin recounted with a look of fear, as if experiencing it himself. Sunny immediately added, that possibility indeed exists. Members of Green Cottage also come to the Moonlight Forest to gather resources, so it's best to keep a certain distance. We're all first-class wizard apprentices. We shouldn't go in too deep. Herag listened to their conversation, quietly staying aside without speaking. This information he had learned before, mentioned by someone at the Gossip Tavern. After chatting for a while, the carriage finally arrived. The horse pulling the carriage was a Hellfoot, a hybrid of magical beast. Flames emitted from its hooves, and it was very fast. The carriages in the Moonlight Forest didn't have drivers. Hellfoot would pull the carriages back and forth along a fixed route, returning to the stable by itself at dark. The space inside the carriage was small, accommodating 6 people. Hellfoot glanced back to confirm that Herag and the others had boarded, then started running, leaving scorched marks where its flaming hooves tread. The road bore many such footprints. It was early morning, and Herag and the others needed to hurry back before sunset. No matter where you are, forests are particularly dangerous at night. Over 20 minutes later, the 4 alighted at the Moonlight Forest station. After reaching the station, Hellfoot would pause briefly there, and after ensuring no one disembarked, it would continue onward. The trees within the Moonlight Forest were vast and tall, clearly aged for many years. The ground underneath typically had dense, low shrubs, and near the entrance there were some distinctly shaped paths, trails made by frequent visitors over the years. Walking further in, the paths disappeared entirely, making it particularly laborious to navigate such jungles. Herag pulled out the long sword from his waist paving a way while he walked. He chose a direction and began his search, as did the other three, each picking a direction to start looking for sleeping mushrooms. Shenlan, begin underground scanning for sleeping mushrooms. Herag commanded Shenlan to survey the surroundings. After his physical enhancement, Shenlan's scanning range expanded to 250 meters. Sleeping mushrooms typically reside 20 to 30 centimeters underground, which was more than sufficient. The surface of sleeping mushrooms is coated with a special substance that shields against magic power, though it has no effect on Shenlan. Sleeping mushrooms detected, location marked in red. Shenlan promptly notified Herag after just a few steps. In Herag's vision, a red, shuttle-shaped mushroom lay a few meters ahead, underground. Herag took out a shovel from his space ring and, at the marked spot, began digging. He was extra cautious while digging, knowing the mushrooms were situated so close to the surface that any carelessness could damage them. A few minutes later, Herag caught sight of the sleeping mushroom's top. The sleeping mushroom had no cap. Its body was entirely purple. Herag cleared the surrounding soil from the sleeping mushroom's location and easily extracted it. The first sleeping mushroom was secured. Herag pressed forward, with Shenlan's assistance saving him considerable observation time. The ground was covered with too many low plants, and even for veterans, merely observing would consume much time. 5 minutes later, Herag paused as Shenlan detected another sleeping mushroom. Within a morning, Herag found 16 sleeping mushrooms. Noting the early hour, he ate some dry food and continued searching for sleeping mushrooms. Only when the forest darkened did Herag look up to realize it was already evening. He tallied his haul, 55 sleeping mushrooms in total, covered in dew and many leaves, with his pant legs muddied. Herag wiped the sweat from his brow and began heading out, staying on the moonlight forest outskirts without venturing deeper, and reached the entrance in about 10 minutes. Walking in the forest expends a lot of energy. Having spent an entire day inside, Herag felt somewhat weary. He was the first to exit, and after a while, the other three followed suit. The three others looked even more bedraggled than he did, especially Mackin, whose bulk was soaked in sweat, drenching his robe. "How many did you dig up?" Mackin asked weakly. "2," Luca replied. Sonny spoke up too. Mackin took a breath and said, "I only found 3. I'm exhausted." "How about you, Herag?" Herag smiled wryly and said, "Not much different from you all. Nothing gained." "That's normal. It's your first time here and lacking experience. You'll get better with familiarity." Mackin seemed to feel slightly better and started comforting the others, although he himself only found 3. Herag looked at the 55 sleeping mushrooms in his ring and realized another problem. If he submitted this many sleeping mushrooms, it would be a bit too noticeable. There's no way a normal person could find so many. "Looks like I need to exchange them in batches and avoid these few people," Herag thought to himself. Dividing 55 into 5 exchanges for magic stones would still draw attention, but at least it wouldn't be so conspicuous. He couldn't avoid exchanging them, as he was now in urgent need of magic stones. Herag's current plan was to earn magic stones and then learn more level 0 spells. Generally, a first-class wizard apprentice only masters 1 or 2 level 0 spells. Second- and third-class wizard apprentices know a few more, but not many. Herag had Shenlan, allowing him to quickly master level 0 spells, which was his advantage. The more level 0 spells he knew, the more solutions would be available in various situations. For example, defensive level 0 spells. Herag was planning to learn the Ice Shield and Mana Shield together later on. Having more means would enhance his survival ability. They waited for a while at the station, and Helfoot arrived, taking them to the Northern Forest Region station. "Are you going to the affairs hall to submit sleeping mushrooms?" Mackin asked. Sonny shook his head. "I'm planning to gather 10 and exchange them for magic stones. Gold coins are insignificant." That's the most reasonable approach. We can continue tomorrow." Mackin nodded. Mackin and the other 2 arranged to set off together the following day, but Herag expressed that he couldn't join due to other commitments and went home alone. He didn't want too much interaction with these people, as his efficiency in finding sleeping mushrooms was very high, and getting too familiar with them would make it difficult to act independently. Mackin and the others didn't mind, as many in the wizard community liked to keep to themselves, which was normal. Early the next morning, Herag arrived at the affairs hall. The official Moonlight Forest-specific tasks had a dedicated window where sleeping mushrooms were to be submitted. After consideration, Herag decided to exchange 50 sleeping mushrooms at once. If he divided it into 5 exchanges, it would only be meaningful with long-time intervals, which would slow down acquiring magic stones. If the intervals weren't enough, frequent submissions would still draw attention. Submitting 50 at once would make others think he'd been storing them for a long as Mackin and the others didn't see him. If it's still noticed by someone with intentions, there's nothing that can be done. I'll just deal with it as it comes. Herag had already prepared himself mentally. I'd like to submit sleeping mushrooms. After waiting in line for a while, it was Herag's turn. Okay, hand them over. How many? Behind the window was a young man named Andrew, who seemed like a wizard apprentice working here. The Moonlight Forest frequently released this type of task post, and wizard apprentices could take the job once they passed the assessments. These posts usually had good benefits. These 50. Herag took out a small basket from his space ring filled with sleeping mushrooms. Andrew was somewhat surprised, counted the mushrooms in the basket, confirmed it was indeed 50. Although the quantity was large, it wasn't unheard of. Some people would stockpile a lot and exchange them all at once. He confirmed the count, started filling out some forms, then took 5 magic stones from the storehouse and filled out another form. Both the number of sleeping mushrooms and magic stones need to be strictly recorded to prevent anyone from lining their pockets. Here you go. After completing the paperwork, Andrew handed Herag the 5 magic stones. After leaving the affairs hall, Herag went straight to Larry's house, having communicated earlier through the talisman stone. He still owed Larry 1 magic stone. Herag knocked on the door, and after a moment, the house elf Gammy opened it. He looked up at Herag and said, "Mr. Herag, please hand me the magic stone. The master is busy and doesn't have time to see you." "Okay, don't get greedy. I've already discussed with Mr. Larry." Herag handed the magic stone over, a bit uneasy, and reminded him. Gammy glanced at Herag with disdain. As he closed the door, said, "No house elf dares to steal from the master." After settling the matter, Herag continued to rush toward the Moonlight Forest, planning to continue gathering sleeping mushrooms to accumulate magic stones as much as possible. When he arrived at the Northern Forest Region Station, there were 2 unfamiliar faces waiting there, a man and a woman, both maintaining silence without talking to each other. Hellfoot soon arrived, and the 3 of them sat in the vehicle without speaking. Herag and the male, which got off at the Moonlight Forest, while the female, which continued to ride, presumably, to some other destination. Entering the Moonlight Forest, Herag chose a direction different from yesterday and began a carpet search, seeing some footprints along the way, but never encountering Mackin and his group. By sunset, Herag had found a total of 42 sleeping mushrooms, fewer than yesterday. While waiting for the vehicle at the station, Mackin's group, along with the man who had gotten off with Herag, also emerged. Mackin's expression was somewhat disheartened. It seemed today's yield wasn't great. He only nodded silently upon seeing Herag. Herag pondered that the areas he'd searched over the past 2 days had probably been exhaustive. Conversely, the difficulty for Mackin and the others in finding sleeping mushrooms had greatly increased. Their expressions suggested possibly having spent the day searching in areas Herag had already covered. Of course, Herag would remain silent about this and stood quietly to the side waiting for the vehicle. "Why was our luck so bad today? We didn't find a single one all day." Mackin complained. Sonny also sighed. "It does seem odd. The 3 of us didn't dig up even one. Our luck really is quite poor." The unknown man joined the conversation, saying, You didn't find any either?" "Same here. Worked all day and got nothing." Soon Hellfoot roared over, carrying a car full of gloomy people back to the Moonlight Forest. In the vehicle, Luca, the weakest-looking of Mackin's group, sighed, "I won't be coming tomorrow. Mushroom digging efficiency is too low." I can't waste my time digging in the dirt. Mackin and Sunny stayed silent, appearing still intent on continuing. 3 days later, Herag returned to the affairs hall to exchange for 4 magic stones. Over the past few days, he hadn't returned to the Moonlight Forest to avoid any trouble with Mackin's group. It was also to avoid drawing others' attention, deliberately waiting a few days before going to the affairs hall to complete the sleeping mushroom task. In the meantime, as usual, he meditated routinely, studying and learning various level 0 spell models, especially Larry's notes filled with valuable learning materials. At the task window of the affairs hall, Andrew looked at Herag's departing figure and muttered, "Are sleeping mushrooms really that easy to dig up lately?" But other than him, there's hardly anyone completing the sleeping mushroom task. It's strange. He pulled out a talisman stone and opened Mackin's chat window to ask, "Haven't seen you submit sleeping mushrooms for several days. How are you doing recently?" Mackin was an old hand at picking sleeping mushrooms and often came to Andrew to submit them in exchange for magic stones, so the two were quite familiar with each other. "Don't get me started. These days I can't find where those damn sleeping mushrooms have gone, and I still haven't gathered 10. Mackin complained with a frown. "Can't be true. Lately, someone has submitted a total of 90 sleeping mushrooms here. I thought they were easy to dig up lately. I was even tempted to try myself." Andrew exclaimed in surprise. 90? Impossible. Mackin's first reaction was disbelief. He had been digging sleeping mushrooms for a while and had never seen anyone dig that many. Seeing his disbelief, Andrew continued to reply, "Really, it's a new first-class wizard apprentice who joined the forest not long ago. Submitted 50 sleeping mushrooms 4 days ago and another 40 today. You often hang around Moonlight Forest. Maybe you know him." "What's his name?" Mackin asked. "Herag, do you know him?" Andrew said casually. Mackin felt the name was both familiar and unfamiliar, then suddenly slapped his thigh. "Isn't he that loner kid? I was wondering why he didn't socialize with us much. Looks like he has some special method to dig sleeping mushrooms. No wonder our harvest has been so little these days. It seems this kid's dug them all up." Mackin thought of his hard work in the past days without gains, feeling a bit frustrated. "I have a total of 8 magic stones now, enough to use for the time being. I need to convert these into instant combat power." Herag opened the talisman stone to contact Larry. "Mr. Larry, how much for the ice shield and mana shield on your side?" He planned to learn all 3 shield spells to create a turtle shell strategy. "These 2 are a bit cheaper. Both are 2 magic stones." Larry replied, "I'm planning to buy them all." "Mr. Larry, do you have any recommendations for attack-type spells?" asked Herag. "Buy them all?" "Oh, right. The dark energy shield is indeed a bit challenging for you, so switching to these 2 is not a bad idea." Larry assumed that Herag couldn't master the dark energy shield. He continued, "I have many level 0 spells here. Some are attack-type and control support-type spells. There are approximately these: Earth Spike Technique, Bone Spike Technique, Small Fireball Technique, Ice Arrow, Ice Cone Technique, Magical Perception / Fainted Earth Binding Technique." Larry sent over a long list of level 0 spell names, making Herag's eyes dizzy. The first few were some common attack spells, while many at the back Herag had never heard of. He asked, "Mr. Larry, what's the effect of Magical Perception?" Magical Perception allows your magic to spread within a certain range around your body, forming a circle, and you can sense all movements within this range. The stronger your spiritual power, the bigger the circle. It's quite practical and effective in actual combat, and I highly recommend you learn this. Larry explained, "The effect is good, but I have a more powerful Shenlan, which makes this seem a bit redundant." Herag secretly compared, as Shenlan now has a range of 250 meters. Magic is often subject to limitations in many situations, but Shenlan's detection is hard to limit. "What's the effect of this flash spell?" Herag continued to look at the spells at the back. "This spell is also quite good. It's one of the rare spatial-type spells among level 0 spells, allowing instant movement within a small range of space. However, it consumes a lot of mana, and you, as a first-class wizard apprentice, may only be able to cast it once per battle. Larry introduced. Herag's eyes lit up. This spell is great. Very useful at critical moments. He then asked, Mr. Larry, how much for Flash? It's a bit more expensive, 3 magic stones. Then I'll take Flash along with Ice Shield and Mana Shield. A total of 7 magic stones. I'll take them all. Herag waved a big hand, leaving him with only 1 magic stone. Larry teased, You've got quite some money, kid. He didn't ask Herag where he got so many magic stones from either. Building 5, Zone C, Herag held several thick books and a notebook. The notebook was for the Flash spell. Larry didn't have notes for the other 2 spells. These spells will keep you busy studying for a long time, Larry said while taking a sip of coffee. Herag replied as he held the books. Yes, I'll study and research them diligently when I get back. Larry suddenly remembered something, put down his coffee cup, and said, By the way, I'm going to have a magic potion class later. You can sign up to listen. When you advance to second-class apprentice, you'll also need to refine dawn potions. Dawn potions? Herag had a simple understanding, knowing that promotion to second-class apprentice requires potions after meeting the spiritual power standard, but hadn't delved into it yet, as he was still far from his upgrade. Dawn Potion can help you advance to second-class apprentice more smoothly. With your aptitude, it should be easy to advance with Dawn Potion, but you'll need to buy the raw materials for refining them yourself, or purchase the materials and commission someone else to refine them. Larry explained. How much are the materials? Herag asked. About 40 magic stones per portion. If you commission an official wizard like me to refine it, you need to prepare at least 2 portions of materials with service fees starting at 30 magic stones. If successful on the first try, materials are not refunded, counted as commission payment. Even if both tries fail, you can't reclaim the service fee. That's the rule. Larry continued. But for a wizard, magic potion refining is a fundamental skill you'll definitely need to master in the future. You can't always commission others to refine potions for you, so you'd best sign up for the upcoming magic potion class. Herag, unable to bow holding the books, stored them all in his space ring, then thanked. Understood. Thank you for the guidance, Mr. Larry. Your space ring's quite nice. Didn't expect a first-class wizard apprentice like you to have something like this. Larry had noticed before, but mentioned it casually now. A friend gave it to me. It's Lillian from Augustus Academy. Herag said. He learned after arriving at Moonlight Forest that such space rings are rare even here, quite valuable, and generally unaffordable for ordinary wizard apprentices. I owe a lot of favors. Herag thought, realizing he currently had nothing to give back to Lillian, but would consider it in the future. Shenlan analyzed the spell models of Ice Shield, Mana Shield, and Flash, and calculate the time and magic power consumption required to construct the models. After Herag got home, he immediately began flipping through the spell models of these 3 spells. After going through them all, he had Shenlan input the data information for analysis. Task has been filed. Entering data for analysis. 1 minute later, Shenlan provided the results. Level 0 spell Ice Shield. Estimated spell model construction time is 15 minutes, with an estimated magic power consumption of 13%. Level 0 spell Mana Shield. Estimated spell model construction time is 20 minutes, with an estimated magic power consumption of 15%. Level 0 spell Flash. Estimated spell model construction time is 30 minutes, with an estimated magic power consumption of 21%. The 3 tasks executed serially are expected to consume 66 minutes and 40% magic power. Looking at the calculated results in front of him, Herag murmured to himself, Currently, Shenlan can only execute tasks serially and cannot execute multiple tasks simultaneously. The magic power consumption isn't much. Let's tackle these 3 spells today. He immediately gave the command. Shenlan, begin constructing the spell models for Ice Shield, Mana Shield, and Flash. Task has been filed. In Herag's mind, Shenlan began constructing the spell models one by one, starting with Ice Shield. To an ordinary wizard apprentice, Herag would seem like a madman. No one would attempt to construct 3 spell models in one go. 66 minutes later, spell model construction is complete. Ordinary wizard apprentices would take at least a year to master these 3 spells, but Herag took just over an hour. 6 level 0 spells, 4 defensive, 1 offensive, and 1 for displacement. Herag counted the level 0 spells he had mastered. As long as he wasn't facing an official wizard or a formidable 3rd-class wizard apprentice, he should have no problem protecting himself. I'll go mushroom picking again in a couple of days, but first I'll thoroughly digest the information from these spell models. Herag now only had 1 magic stone left, and enrolling in the magic potion class would cost money, as would practicing magic potion refining. Picking sleeping mushrooms is currently the most efficient and safe task. Herag planned to exploit this task as much as possible. 3 days later, Herag set out again for Moonlight Forest. Not long after he left, a figure emerged from the corner of the wall behind. It was Sunny, who was with Mackin. He took out a talisman stone to send a message to Mackin. He has left. It looks like he is heading to Moonlight Forest. Great. Finally, he's out. Ever since Mackin learned that Herag had picked so many sleeping mushrooms, he teamed up with Sunny, and they took turns staking out near Herag's place. After staking out for 3 days, they finally saw Herag leave. Mackin speculated that Herag had a special method to find sleeping mushrooms quickly, and since Herag was just a newly joined 1st-class wizard apprentice in the forest, he and Sunny figured they could take Herag down together and then force him to reveal his method, thereby making a fortune picking sleeping mushrooms. Mackin was even considering how to deal with Sunny, regarding Herag as no real threat and sure to be taken down. He couldn't let a second person know the special method. The one to be cautious about was Sunny. Herag was waiting at the station for the arrival of Hellfoot, and he glanced back. Sunny and Mackin did not show up. He chuckled. It's fine if they come together. The detection range of Shenlan's environment is 250 meters, so Sunny and Mackin had long been exposed in Herag's field of vision. Sunny, Power 2.0, Agility 1.8, Constitution 2.8, Spirit 6.7. Mackin, Power 2.1, Agility 2.2, Constitution 3.1, Spirit 7.3. Herag already had a good grasp of the data of these two, just waiting for them to bite the hook. Fighting is not allowed in the towns and northern forest region of the Moonlight Forest, but the Moonlight Forest does not prohibit members from killing each other. Conflict of interest among wizards is normal. If there's a dispute, solve it outside. The Moonlight Forest won't bother with such affairs. The one who survives is stronger and more valuable to the forest. This is the survival law here. Unless you are an important figure in Moonlight Forest, no one will care about your life and death, as long as you don't disrupt the normal order of the forest. This is also why Mackin and Sunny could only stake out outside. They didn't dare to make a move in the northern forest region. They could only act without restraint when Herag went to places like Moonlight Forest. Herag was the only passenger on the carriage he took, and after he reached the entrance of Moonlight Forest, he started walking inside, waiting for the arrival of Mackin and Sunny. Soon after, the next carriage arrived, and the passengers alighting were Mackin and Sunny. After getting off, they both looked around cautiously. That kid must have already gone in, Mackin said as he looked at the dense Moonlight Forest. How about we split up? I'll search the left side. You search the right side. Sunny suggested. Mackin nodded. Okay, if you find that kid, don't act rashly. Quietly notify me so we can take him down together. No problem, Sunny replied with a smile. The two entered Moonlight Forest and then separated left and right, Mackin sneering to himself. I'll deal with that kid first, then you. After walking some distance, Sunny glanced back at Mackin's position. He had the same thought as Mackin, planning to get Herag's secret before dealing with Mackin. Herag, you better not go to the right, Mackin thought as he explored the jungle, keeping an eye on the tracks. He soon found signs of trampled shrubs, with clear human footprints on the ground. Sunny didn't hide his joy. Herag went this way. In the far, shaded jungle, Herag was observing Sunny through Shenlan's environmental monitoring. Their initial conversation was heard loud and clear by him. He stayed at the maximum distance within Shenlan's monitoring range, ensuring he could keep track of the two while not exposing his own position. Herag was waiting for a gap between the two to take them down one by one. He chose Sunny first, as he seemed relatively weaker. Herag was lurking in the forest, retreating slowly as Sunny advanced, always maintaining a distance. The traces in the mountain forest were deliberately left by him to lure Sunny deeper. Once Sunny entered a relatively open area, Herag made his move. A corrosive arrow quickly formed in his hand, silently traversing through the air, striking Sunny's abdomen. Sunny's area lacked tall trees, covered mainly by low shrubs. Upon hearing the whistling sound, Sunny became alert. When the brush beside him was cut, he sensed danger and instinctively dodged to the side. The corrosive arrow grazed his waist and abdomen, not penetrating his stomach, but leaving a mark, which was enough. Sunny immediately used a mana shield. The milky light shield appearing around him made him feel slightly relieved. The corrosive arrow left a black scar on Sunny's waist, with corrosive energy starting to burrow in his flesh, blood mixing with a foul-smelling black liquid seeping out. The searing pain made Sunny involuntarily cry out. The corrosive energy clung to his flesh like a branding iron, continuously burning his blood and flesh. Sunny's hand trembling, he took out a bottle of white sage healing potion, poured it on the wound, and a white smoke rose up with a sizzling sound. He grimaced in pain, and at the same time, 2 corrosive arrows were successively shot, hitting the mana shield. The corrosive energy of the corrosive arrows also had a corrosive effect on the mana shield, requiring Sunny to supply more magic power to maintain and repair the mana shield. He glanced in the direction the corrosive arrows were shot from, unable to find Herag's trace. Sunny's expression was uncertain, and after contemplating for a while, he still decided to go back to find Mackin. Boom! As he turned around, a fireball struck from behind, fiercely smashing into his mana shield and exploding. The blast sent Sunny flying several meters, visibly thinning the mana shield. No, I have to find Mackin. Sunny turned and cast an ice arrow, the ice arrow swiftly piercing through the forest, frosting the branches and leaves it brushed past. Herag watched as the ice arrow passed a few meters away. Sunny didn't know his exact location at all. He maintained his distance, following Sunny unhurriedly, occasionally shooting a corrosive arrow. Sunny's mana shield quickly became unsustainable as he consumed too much magic power maintaining it. Wind Elf's Blessing. Unable to maintain the mana shield, Sunny's heart pounded furiously, using enchantment magic of demonized items. A gust of wind swirled around his body, and Sunny's speed increased significantly, quickly distancing himself from Herag. Herag wasn't in a hurry to catch up. In Shenlan's perception, Mackin was already approaching and would soon meet Sunny. If I can't handle it, I can retreat safely. Herag remained hidden in the forest, maintaining his distance. Mackin, I found the kid. Got ambushed. Sunny cried out as he saw Mackin, looking quite disheveled. Mackin looked at him oddly. Ambushed? Sunny, sensing something off in his gaze, instinctively stepped back, pointing with his finger toward the forest. He's over there. Mackin nodded. I'll take care of him, but... A huge ice cone rapidly formed in front of him and then launched toward Sunny. You! Sunny's eyes widened, too close to Mackin. He hastily conjured a feeble mana shield. With little magic power left, the mana shield he produced had limited defensive capability. Sunny's mana shield couldn't withstand the ice cone technique. The ice cone effortlessly shattered the shield and pierced Sunny's chest. Blood spurted, staining the ice cone red. Sunny was slammed into a tree by the ice cone's impact, mouth agape, spitting a mixture of blood and shattered organs. With one last hateful glance at Mackin, he dropped his head, lifeless. Having killed Sunny, Mackin cautiously hid behind a large tree, observing the surroundings. He noticed the wounds on Sunny's body, marks of the corrosive arrows. That stuff was troublesome, and he didn't want to get hit. He heard movement to his right and immediately put up a mana shield similar to Sunny's. A corrosive arrow struck the mana shield, creating ripples. Mackin quickly dodged to the other side of the tree. Before long, Another corrosive arrow shot over. Damn, how does he know my location? Macken's mana shield withstood this attack. He glanced in the direction the corrosive arrows were coming from. The dense woods made it impossible to see Herag. The only offensive magic he knew was Ice Cone Technique, which required a large amount of magic power and couldn't be used for probing. He had to wait for the right opportunity to strike, just like when he effortlessly killed Sunny. The dense jungle severely restricted his abilities, and unexpectedly, Herag could accurately hit him with corrosive arrows from outside his field of vision. I need to close the distance. Macken started moving towards Herag's direction, using the many trees as cover. Herag leisurely used corrosive arrows to deplete Macken's magic power, knowing the need to maintain and repair the mana shield would consume a lot. As Macken approached, Herag also slowly retreated, keeping a certain distance but not too far, lest Macken escape like Sunny, making it hard to catch up. No, at this rate, I'm finished. After pursuing a certain distance, Macken realized much of his magic power had been consumed. Yet Herag remained in an elusive position, causing him anxiety and helplessness. Leaning against a tree, Macken thought, this guy's too slippery. If I keep chasing, I'm dead. Seems like I need to retreat. The kid kept his distance, which means he can't handle me either. Corrosive arrows can't deliver a fatal blow. After weighing his options, Macken decided to abandon the chase, not wanting to fall here. Getting ready to run? Herag immediately noticed Macken's slow retreat, using the dense trees to avoid his corrosive arrows. Herag slowly followed, occasionally taking the chance to shoot a corrosive arrow to sap Macken's energy. Sweat covered Macken's brow as his magic dwindled, increasing the pressure on him. Herag clung on like a parasitic worm, never closing in, just depleting him with corrosive arrows. Herag's corrosive arrows were precise, and his timing impeccable, always managing to drain his mana shield. As Macken neared the entrance to the Moonlight Forest, his mana shield was so weak it was barely maintainable. Herag took out a spirit-stabilizing potion, fully replenishing his magic power. This was something he acquired on credit from Larry, worth 10 magic stones, something a typical first-class wizard apprentice couldn't afford. After drinking the potion, Herag increased his speed, catching up to Macken in a few strides, appearing in his sight. Ice Shield, Mana Shield, Dark Energy Shield. Herag slapped on 3 shields, each a different color, layering them over himself securely. Ice Cone Technique. Macken hesitated not all. He had reserved enough magic power for one Ice Cone Technique, waiting for Herag to get close for a fatal strike. The massive ice cone swiftly formed and charged toward the fully shielded Herag. Damn, how could he master so many spells? After launching the Ice Cone Technique, Macken prepared to flee, seeing Herag fully shielded. He didn't believe the Ice Cone Technique could kill the fully shielded Herag, and with his magic nearly depleted, he needed to escape quickly. Macken turned his head and saw a bright, long sword swing past. Clutching his throat and unable to speak, blood flowed like a waterfall, blood bubbles gurgled from his mouth. Looking at Herag, who was covered in shields, he collapsed to the ground full of confusion in his eyes. Remaining magic power at 3%, Shenlan issued a warning. Herag felt mentally exhausted. The spell Flash consumes too much magic power. Casting it once uses up 49% of magic power. At the moment the ice cone rushed towards him, he decisively used Flash to appear behind Macken, then killed Macken with a single strike. Caught off guard and with almost no magic power left, Macken died without being able to resist at all. Need to leave quickly. Herag searched the bodies of Macken and Sunny, found a ring and 4 magic stones, and quickly left the Moonlight Forest. His current magic power was not even enough to cast a single corrosive arrow, so if danger arose, he could only rely on hand-to-hand combat. After returning to the inn, Hellfoot arrived shortly after, with no one in the carriage. The journey went smoothly, and once in the northern forest region, it was quite safe, so Herag was able to relax his tense spirit a bit. If Macken and Sunny's bodies were not discovered in time, They would soon be dragged away and eaten by the beasts and magical creatures in the Moonlight Forest. Even if discovered, it had nothing to do with him. The Forest District would just record the incident, as such things were quite common. During his stay in the Moonlight Forest, Herag felt it provided a platform. Wizards study and exchange resources here, with everything requiring equal exchange and not like schools with strict wizard management. Freedom also represents disorder. Wind Elf's Ring. Enchanted with a level 0 spell, Wind Elf's Blessing. The green ring in Herag's hand was taken from Sunny, and the enchanted spell seemed to be able to increase the agility attribute. The exact value would need to be tested later when his magic power recovered. I'll go pick mushrooms in the Moonlight Forest in a few days. Herag planned to wait until this matter settled before going, to avoid further trouble. 2 days later, Herag pulled a chair onto the balcony and lay down, carefully studying the spell model of Flash. Beside him, a small stove was burning brightly, with a teapot on top boiling coffee. The aroma wafted out, refreshing and enlivening him. The practical value of the spell Flash is high, but the magic power consumption is too much. Herag paused at this thought, then issued a command to Shenlan. Shenlan, can you optimize the spell Flash to reduce magic power consumption? Conducting data analysis. Data analysis complete, calculations complete, level 0 spell Flash can be optimized. After optimization, casting at once is estimated to consume 37% magic power. From 49% to 37%, it's quite a significant optimization. This result was sufficient to reduce a lot of the magic power burden. He continued to ask, Shenlan, can you optimize the level 0 spell Flash to increase the flash distance? Conducting data analysis. Lack of sufficient spatial magic data suggests providing ample fundamental principles of spatial magic. As expected, as Herag predicted, there was currently no way to increase the range of Flash. He had almost no understanding of the principles of spatial magic, and all of Shenlan's calculations required data as a foundation. Only with enough input can calculations be performed and output generated. Shenlan, start optimizing the level 0 spell Flash. Direction of optimization is reduced magic power consumption. Task archived. Estimated remaining time, 26 minutes. Estimated magic power consumption, 31%. Level 0 spell Flash optimization complete. Herag noticed some changes in the spell model of Flash in his mind, with some slight modifications that allowed more magic power to be saved without affecting the original effect of Flash. Shenlan, optimize the level 0 spell mana shield. There are 3 optimization approaches. 1. Increase shield's defensibility. 2. Reduce magic power consumption. 3. Both increase shield's defensibility and reduce magic power consumption. Herag proposed 3 optimization solutions for mana shield to see how far Shenlan could achieve. Conducting calculation and analysis. Analysis complete. All 3 optimization solutions are feasible. Seeing this was possible, Herag continued to inquire about optimization plans for Ice Shield and Dark Energy Shield. Ice Shield could enhance defense capability and reduce magic power consumption, while Dark Energy Shield could only reduce magic power consumption, lacking data to enhance defensibility. Herag thought it was likely due to a lack of knowledge in elemental magic, which would need to be supplemented later. He then asked for an optimization solution for Corrosive Arrow. Shenlan, how can Corrosive Arrow be optimized? Conducting calculation and analysis. Level 0 spell Corrosive Arrow can optimize the amount of magic power consumption, enhancing the corrosive effect. After Shenlan provided the result, Herag began to arrange his own plan for optimizing level 0 spells. Shenlan optimizing spells required the consumption of magic power, and Herag had only so much magic power. It took him 4 days to fully optimize all his spells once over. Even the partial petrification technique had its magic power consumption reduced somewhat. Ice Shield, Mana Shield, Dark Energy Shield. Herag sequentially cast 3 shield spells on himself, checking his remaining magic power, 68%. Before Shenlan optimized these 3 spells, just casting 3 shields would consume half of his mana. Now it only used up 32%. With the Starry Sky meditation technique, the 5th star had solidified halfway. Herag estimated that he should complete this meditation within a month. Once this star successfully formed, he would be close to advancing to a 2nd-class wizard apprentice, ready to prepare the dawn potion needed for this promotion. There's a message. The talisman stone flickered with a green light. Upon opening it, Herag found a message from Larry. I've opened registration for the magic potion course. If you're interested, you can sign up and attend. I'll go sign up right away. After replying, Herag found the Start Magic Potions class by Larry in the course section. The course cost 20 gold coins, not expensive at all. You don't need to buy books, just use mine from before, which have some notes that can help you study. Larry continued. Thank you, Mr. Larry. Herag clearly felt that Larry was placing more value on him, likely due to recognizing his potential. Herag knew clearly that what he gained now, he would need to exchange with a corresponding price in the future. As he grows gradually, if there's a spot where Larry needs his help, he would likely ask him for some assistance. Equivalent exchange is always the creed that wizards follow. After registering, Herag wandered around the Gossip Tavern, which is similar to a forum from his past life where one can post and communicate. The bodies of Mackin and Sunny have already been found, and someone in the Gossip Tavern has posted about it for discussion. Someone suggested they were killed by people from the Green Cottage, while others speculated it was internal conflict, and some believed a third party was involved. However, the post quickly sank. The death of 2 first-class wizard apprentices in the Moonlight Forest is really a trivial matter, not even worthy as tea-time gossip. Herag took out the Wind Elf Ring and input magic power to trigger the enchantment spell. Shenlan, check my body data. Herag Merlin. Power 2.2, Agility 2.0 plus 2, Constitution 3.0, Spirit 6.9, Magic Power 100%. Increased agility by 2 points, quite a good ring. The numbers in parentheses represent external attribute bonuses. Feeling the lightness of his body, Herag felt that he could jump and fly away. Shenlan, how long can the Wind Elf's blessing last? This was Herag's first time encountering blessing spells. Approximately half an hour, Shenlan replied. Looking at the blessing, Herag had some thoughts. Perhaps I can get more blessing spells. Let Shenlan optimize magic power consumption, and during battles, stack all blessings and shields on myself. The combat power should be considerable. But blessings are always temporary, if the body could. A week later, Larry's magic potion class started. Herag, come here. As soon as Herag stepped into the classroom, Larry called him over, waving at him. Larry picked up a thick basic introduction to magic potions from the podium. This is the textbook I used before. Take it and use it. Thank you, Mr. Larry. Herag took the book and found a seat in the front row. The classroom had 12 people in total. Most were first-class apprentices, with 3 second-class apprentices. Once Larry saw that almost everyone had arrived, he began the lecture. Gentlemen and ladies, welcome to my magic potion class. First, close your basic introduction to magic potions. Our first class won't cover any content from the book. In the first lesson, we will spend 3 hours discussing one thing. He turned around and wrote on the blackboard, experimental standards and safety guidelines. After writing, Larry pointed at the words on the blackboard. Magic potion. These words are the most crucial foundation. The properties and formulas of magic potions can be learned slowly, but standards and guidelines must be ingrained in one's bones. Cultivating good experimental habits is essential. There are always wizards who ignore some basic requirements, even many official wizards. If a magic potion experiment goes wrong, losing one's life is a minor issue. Many potion experiments can cause large-scale disasters. Once someone saw ordinary people dying of hunger, he started researching a potion that could make cows grow from the ground. Guess what happened? The moment his potion was spilled onto the ground, it directly opened a passage connecting to the other world. All creatures within 1,000 miles of the passage were wiped out, and 2 wizard organizations spent 30 years sealing it at great cost. And the reason for this situation was simply that he didn't disinfect the damn test tube before mixing the potion. He never got a chance to correct his mistake, even though it was just a basic guideline. A wizard apprentice raised their hand. "Mr. Larry, so can his potion really make cows grow from the ground?" "Fool! Of course not." "Ha ha ha." The classroom burst into laughter. Larry clapped his hands, and the classroom quieted down. With a flick of his fingers, the pile of parchment papers on the desk flew up, landing one by one in front of each wizard apprentice. Here are 168 experimental rules. Everyone must memorize them. While you're just starting to learn, cultivate good experimental habits from the beginning. Next, I will explain each rule one by one, including why they are necessary. Many are marked by blood lessons. Larry held a parchment containing the rules and began explaining them from the first one. 3 hours quickly passed, and he finished explaining the 168 rules, clearly showing his experience. Magic potion experimental standards and safety guidelines have been recorded. Shenlan documented all the content throughout. Shenlan, remember to remind me in a timely manner if there are any non-standard practices when I conduct experiments. Herag instructed. Task archived. While tidying up the desk, Larry spoke. "That's it for today. Today's lesson is the most important one. I hope none of those who have attended my class will suffer injuries or even die due to potion experiments." Larry's basic introduction to magic potions class consisted of 5 sessions, completed over 2 weeks. The first session covered experimental standards and norms, followed by 2 theory classes and 2 experimental classes. Herag listened attentively to each session, and with Shenlan assistance, he ensured no knowledge points were missed. Shenlan could also correct any errors promptly. The raw materials for the Dawn Potion cost 40 magic stones, and even with Shenlan assistance, achieving a 100% success rate is impossible. Assuming at least 2 sets of materials are needed, that totals 80 magic stones. Herag calculated the magic stones needed to advance to second-class wizard apprentice, then glanced at the 5 magic stones in his pocket and instantly understood what true poverty felt like. Furthermore, he owed Larry 10 magic stones. No wonder so many people remain stuck at first-class wizard apprentice. Without a background, even accumulating enough potion resources takes a long time to acquire magic stones. And this is just the advancement from first class to second class. The subsequent transition from second class to third class and finally to official wizard requires an enormous amount of resources. Herag felt overwhelmed by the resources required, far beyond his expectations. Tomorrow, I'll go to the Moonlight Forest to gather mushrooms. It's July now, and sleeping mushrooms only grow in summer. I must seize this opportunity to earn more. Herag calculated that based on previous progress, he could earn 5 to 6 magic stones per day, and by gathering mushrooms for a month, he could earn 156 in an ideal scenario. Early the next morning, he went to the entrance of the Moonlight Forest again, and not far in was the place where Mackin was defeated. Traces could still faintly be seen on the ground. Few people had come to the Moonlight Forest in recent days. Due to Mackin and Sunny suddenly dying here, other first-class wizard apprentices were afraid to come, providing Herag with the perfect opportunity to gather sleeping mushrooms. Over 3 days, Herag gathered 170 sleeping mushrooms. In the following 2 days, Herag found fewer and fewer sleeping mushrooms, making it challenging to find any on the outskirts of the Moonlight Forest. Could it be I need to delve deeper into the Moonlight Forest? Herag pondered this issue. Herag was now quite a distance from the Moonlight Forest entrance, roughly needing half an hour to walk back there. Relying on Shenlan's detection, let's go a bit further, but not too deep. If anything feels wrong, we retreat immediately. After some thought, Herag decided to cautiously venture a bit deeper. The outskirts of the sleeping mushroom area were getting hard to find. He had to take a little risk and go in a bit deeper. The main dangers deeper within the Moonlight Forest stemmed from 2 sources: the various fierce magical beasts and bizarre plants, and the potential encounter with the wizards of Green Cottage. In the forest depths, the ground was covered with thick foliage. Herag felt the leaves were several centimeters deep as he stepped on them. With Shenlan's detection functionality, he didn't need to worry about pitfalls hidden beneath the leaves. Herag didn't dare to venture too far in. He just wandered around this area and managed to dig up 8 sleeping mushrooms in about an hour. There are indeed more here compared to the outskirts, but it's just a bit too quiet. Herag noticed that during his time here, there wasn't a sound around, exceedingly quiet, eerily so. Realizing the abnormality here, he immediately halted his steps. Herag carefully observed his surroundings. The details he noticed made him furrow his brow. Normally, there would be a slight breeze in the forest, causing leaves and vegetation to sway gently. But now everything, flowers, trees, grass, seemed like a frozen photograph. Herag began to retreat, but after a few steps, he realized he couldn't leave this place. The nearest tree was 10 meters behind him, and he kept walking toward it, but no matter how he proceeded, he couldn't get any closer. Herag stopped and tried to calm himself. He squatted down, noticing a plant reaching his waist. Herag gently touched it, and the entire plant quickly withered and collapsed into a pile of ash. Shenlan, during this time, did you detect any unusual magic power fluctuations? Herag was puzzled that he hadn't noticed anything peculiar, yet suddenly encountered this bizarre situation. No unusual magic power fluctuations detected, Shenlan replied. Shenlan, check if my mind is normal. See if I am in an illusion state. Shenlan immediately replied, everything is normal. Herag pondered that wandering around now wouldn't solve anything. Wandering aimlessly might lead him to an unknown space, akin to the Lost Mist. Wait, the Lost Mist. Herag thought of his starry sky meditation technique, which helped him orient himself and escape the Lost Mist previously. He entered a meditative state, beginning to sense the positions of the stars overhead. Moments later, Herag's expression turned a bit grave. Not only couldn't he sense his 4 stars, but he also noticed that the positions and numbers of stars in the sky had changed, completely different from before. This constellation, it's almost like appearing on a foreign planet. Herag felt a tricky situation. Normally, stars move regularly. It's impossible for the whole sky to look different overnight unless you're not on the original planet anymore. Herag took a deep breath and began contemplating a solution. At this time, he couldn't rush around recklessly to avoid triggering unknown taboos, turning into dust like that plant. Cough, cough. He heard faint, labored breathing, the sound very distant and small, but in this deathly silence, it seemed especially conspicuous. Soon, 3 people entered Shenlan's detection range. 3 men running desperately, looking quite distressed. The leading man wore an exquisite gold-trimmed wizard robe, and the other 2 wore ordinary wizard apprentice robes. Herag noticed all 3 robes bore the mark of a wooden house, representing them as wizards of Green Cottage. Shenlan assessed their power. After Herag gave the order, detailed data appeared above the heads of the 3 men for him to examine. Power 6.2, Agility 6.8, Constitution 7.0, Spirit 18.9. Power 3.7, Agility 2.9, Constitution 4.1, Spirit 9.5. Power 3.5, Agility 2.5, Constitution 3.5, Spirit 8.3. All 3 men's attributes surpassed Herag's, especially the leader, whose spiritual power was already at the standard of a 3rd-class wizard apprentice, with his other physical data also clearly at that standard. Herag had nowhere to retreat and could only hide in a dense shrub, but hiding would be meaningless in front of these 3. The bush's plants, like that single plant, would shrivel instantly into ash upon contact. Loon, sir, we've already entered the Moonlight Forest area. It's easy to encounter their people. The man with the lowest spiritual power gasped while running, reminded. Loon was the 3rd-class wizard apprentice, and with a look of terror at what was behind them, he angrily said to the person next to him, "What choice do we have? I'd rather die at the hands of the people in Moonlight Forest than at that monster behind us." The other person said, "Sir Loon is Sir Malcolm's own brother. they wouldn't dare to easily kill him in Moonlight Forest. By luring Shivara here, we could instead trap them once. Idiot. There's no guarantee we'll escape. I had to use a precious demonized item just to buy us some time. Loon sped up, quickly widening the gap with the two behind. The two looked at each other, realizing the severity of the situation. Loon's speed was much faster, so the monster behind would surely catch the two of them first. Realizing this problem, the two began sprinting, their faces flushed red, seemingly exerting all their strength. Malcolm's own brother. Hearing this name, Herag recalled the massacre of the Baron's entire family in the castle by Malcolm. He remembered Malcolm introducing himself then, saying he came from Green Cottage. What a coincidence! His own brother also has the power of a third-class wizard apprentice. Herag felt somewhat overwhelmed. Loon's trio quickly ran towards Herag. Loon noticed Herag's presence immediately, but without sparing him a glance, kept running forward. They soon discovered the eerie aspect of this place, and Loon's expression drastically changed. What's going on? Why can't we get through? Could it be the Moonlight Forest people have set some barrier here? Someone beside him speculated. Loon glanced at Herag's hiding place, extended his hand, rapidly forming a fireball technique, and sent it flying toward Herag's location. Ice shield, mana shield, dark energy shield. Having kept an eye on their movements, Herag prepared to flee as Loon turned. He instantly deployed 3 shields and activated the Wind Elf's ring to evade the fireball. The fireball exploded where he stood, incinerating countless plants into ash and stirring up a cloud of dust. Running quite fast, Loon snorted coldly. What's happening here? Is this your doing? Herag shrugged. It's got nothing to do with me. I'm also figuring out how to get out. It's someone from the Moonlight Forest. It has to be his doing. The other two recognized the robe from the Moonlight Forest on Herag. Loon glanced at Herag. It shouldn't be him. A mere first-class wizard apprentice couldn't possibly know such high-level spatial magic. There's something strange about this place. He changed his tone, but since that's the case, keeping him is useless. Just kill him casually. Seeing the situation go south, Herag turned and ran. Trailing spells were thrown by the two behind him, but they were all blocked by the 3 thick shields. Why does this guy have so many shields? The two were dumbfounded watching Herag running far, not daring to pursue. After tentatively running a distance, Herag stopped, observing from the sideline woods. He didn't dare to run forward, as whatever was chasing those 3 must be even more terrifying. Loon, seeing the two were dawdling, got a bit angry and urged again. Kill him first. His 2 followers, gritting their teeth, had no choice but to chase, spells ready in their hands. At that moment, both involuntarily shivered. Herag also felt a chilling presence creeping from behind. A deep fear arose within him. He turned to see a person lying on the ground, in an extremely strange pose, limbs twisted grotesquely. This person seemed to be crouching on the ground, but his head was twisted 180 degrees around, as if his neck had been twisted in a circle. Shivara. The term emerged in Herag's mind. It was mentioned by Loon and the others just recently. Shenlan. Search information on Shivara. Shivara, a demon from the Abyss Plane, extremely dangerous. Shenlan extracted a simple entry on Shivara from the database, offering just this one sentence without additional details. Herag recalled reading about this demon in a book, leaving only an impression as it supposedly existed only in rumors, with few having witnessed it in person. How could something like this be in the Moonlight Forest? Herag pondered endlessly. He wanted to turn and run, but found his muscles very stiff. Magic flow turning obscure. Unable to move, could only helplessly watch Shivara crawl slowly towards him. Shivara's long black hair dragged on the ground, resembling countless tentacles crawling. Shenlan, make me move. Herag shouted inwardly, stimulating relevant muscle tissues. Herag felt a tingling sensation in his muscles and some joints, similar to being shocked. Moments later, his ability to move freely returned. Without hesitation, Herag turned and ran, dashing into the forest aside. Shivara still crawled leisurely on the ground, seemingly indifferent to Herag's escape. Loon and his two accomplices were still frozen in place, watching helplessly as Herag ran farther away, while Shivara drew closer, their eyes filled with despair. As Shivara crawled up to the trio, he halted, his hair continued forward, sliding into the trio's pants. The trio's expressions turned terrified, mouths agape to scream, yet nothing came out. Black hair emerged from their noses, ears, mouths, eyes, stained with fresh blood and red flesh. Through Loon and the other's skin, threads of hair could be seen rapidly passing, their skins slowly caving in as if hollowed out. The dense sound of chewing echoed from within the trio, reverberating in the silent moonlight forest, making Herag's scalp tingle just hearing it. He hadn't run far. More precisely, he couldn't escape far. Looking around, all was an unreachable edge, no means of escape. Through Shenlan's detection, Herag beheld the scene over there. Loon and the trio were reduced to skins before his eyes, leaving not even a trace of bone shards. After Shivara finished, the hair gradually retracted, leaving only 3 thin human skins behind. Shivara then turned and slowly crawled towards Herag. An indescribable malevolence enveloped Herag like a tidal wave. Herag found himself immobile again. No matter how Shenlan stimulated the muscle tissues, he couldn't regain control over his body, could only watch Shivara getting closer. Shenlan, control the magic power, activate the pocket watch, use holy healing technique. Now Herag couldn't control his own magic flow. Executing, Shenlan directed magic power into the pocket watch, manifesting a woman's phantom. White light enveloped Herag. Herag felt a warmth surging through his body, dispelling much of the malice clouding his mind, yet he still couldn't control his body. Shivara paused for a moment, his dense hair halted on the ground, but only for a fleeting instant. Shivara resumed, crawling forward. The holy healing technique, apart from alleviating Herag's chill, had no effect on Shivara. Gritting his teeth, Herag's mind raced, contemplating how to survive this ordeal. Croak, croak, croak. An abrupt toad's croaking sounded. Shivara halted suddenly. Not far from Herag, a basketball-sized toad emerged from somewhere, croaking towards Herag. Herag felt the constraint on his body lessen slightly, arduously turned his head, spotting this peculiar toad. He sensed his fingers heating up, glanced down, and saw the space ring Lillian gave him warming up. What's inside? Herag used magic power to probe, discovering a nearly forgotten item inside the space ring glowing. This is... Herag recalled that during their ship's stopover at Colombo Island, he and Lillian had spotted this hexagonal wooden disc while strolling outside. The disc had a hexagonal tower etched at its center, now emanating a faint yellow glow, seemingly floating out. Since buying this disc, Herag had studied it for a time, discovering no anomalies, subsequently storing it in the space ring and forgetting it as time passed. Now, with the disc exhibiting peculiar activity, Herag promptly retrieved it. Once out, the disc's yellow glow intensified. The toad croaked more fervently. Shivara slowly turned his head, white eyeballs swiveling to gaze at the wooden disc.